Chapter 334, The Undercover Agent of the End of All Things. As Jiang Hao observed the changes in the courtyard, he felt puzzled. At first glance, there wasn't much difference. The heavenly fragrance Dao flower had 6 leaves now, but there were no other significant changes. The several lotus flowers remained unchanged. The immortal peach tree was still taller than the surrounding walls, but it hadn't yet borne fruits. The bamboo grove had become even more lush. Other than these, there were no other notable changes in the courtyard. He checked the formation, but there were no problems. How did the spiritual energy become so dense? He knew there was a spirit gathering formation here, and the spirit herbs and heavenly fragrance Dao flower could nurture spiritual energy. However, it had become much denser. It was like suddenly being surrounded by thick fog. Jiang Hao walked into the house. In any case, he needed to check other areas first. The golden ring was still there, the bathroom showed no signs of being used, and the cultivation area had no traces of being disturbed. After thoroughly inspecting both inside and outside, Jiang Hao realized that the only change was the increased density of spiritual energy. It seemed like a good thing, but he needed to observe further to know the details. Jiang Hao sat in his courtyard and began to communicate with the golden ring he had left in the corpse realm. As expected, the communication was successful. However, he was unsure if he could go there or what would happen if he did. He decided to go to the Lawless Tower and ask Zhuang Yuzhen. But first, he needed to inform his master about his return. When he arrived, he saw that Mu Qi had also just come back. Ning Xian was there too. There was also an unfamiliar man with them. The man looked cold and aloof. Mu Qi and Ning Xian greeted him. Senior brother Dongfang, hello. Jiang Hao also bowed in greeting. This man was Dongfang Ji, the one who went with them into the corpse realm. His cultivation was indeed formidable. However, Jiang Hao was only an inner sect disciple at the peak of the Foundation establishment realm, so it was better not to get too involved with them. Dongfang Ji nodded in response. The 4 people then entered Master Ku Wu Chang's courtyard together. Jiang Hao followed them. He couldn't help but feel that something was strange about Dongfang Ji. It seemed like there were faint traces of green light around him. That green light was exactly like the aura of the Earth Extreme Heart Devouring Pearl. It's about to disappear. But why would senior brother Dongfang Ji have a remnant of the aura of the Earth Extreme Heart Devouring Pearl? Jiang Hao was confused. He used his daily appraisal ability. Undercover agent? Jiang Hao was astonished. Dongfang Ji was actually the one who had obtained the Earth Extreme Heart Devouring Pearl and was undercover for the End of All Things organization within the Heavenly Note sect. Jiang Hao recalled Shuiyu. Her life had been tragic, and Dongfang Ji also had a tragic past. Maybe the end of all things approached people with tragic lives. However, what surprised Jiang Hao was the fact that Dongfang Ji had agreed to go undercover for them. Also, why would he be interested in me? Jiang Hao thought it might be because of the mine. At that time, the End of All Things had set their sights on the mine. When the conflict with Shang-An arose, several members of the End of All Things died, and the Earth Extreme Heart Devouring Pearl was destroyed. Jiang Hao happened to be acquainted with Shang-An's group. Therefore, Dongfang Ji might have some interest in him. Jiang Hao felt relieved. However, there was one very important thing that needed to be addressed. He needed to get the spirit beast to retrieve the secret code. After meeting his master, Jiang Hao left. The other 3 stayed behind. He didn't know what they wanted to discuss. He went straight to the Lawless Tower and headed to the 5th floor. A whole year had passed and the number of people here had increased. A woman was in a cage this time. Her hair was disheveled, and her cultivation had dropped to the early stage of the primordial spirit realm. If she fell any further, she would have to leave the 5th floor. In contrast, Hai Luo and Zhuang Yuzhen, one at the late stage and the other at the early stage of the primordial spirit realm, hadn't changed at all throughout the entire year. The 2 people sat silently with lowered heads as though they were trying to conserve their energy. Thud thud. Jiang Hao knocked on the door twice. Zhuang Yuzhen struggled to lift his head. When he saw Jiang Hao, his eyes lit up. It seems you've gained quite a lot. He had indeed gained quite a lot. He had supposedly leaped from the late stage to the peak of the Foundation establishment realm. Finally, someone who we can talk to. These people were useless. They couldn't touch the depths of my heart at all. Do they think I'd want to share information with them? What a joke! Yelled the Heavenly King and glared at the guards. You're just a little brat who relies on selling out your companions. Otherwise, you would have been thrown to the lower level long ago, Zhuang Yuzhen said disdainfully. You're one to talk. You, at the early stage of primordial spirit realm, are no match for me. I can defeat you with one strike of my hand. Actually, this time I want to ask some questions about the corpse realm, said Jiang Hao. Go ahead. Zhuang Yuzhen was curious about what Jiang Hao had encountered inside. After some thought, Jiang Hao asked, is there a place in the corpse realm that connects to other spaces? Yes. Zhuang Yuzhen nodded. However, such places are extremely rare. Even if you accidentally enter them, conflicts between both sides are unlikely to occur. It's full of illusions. Some special monsters can shuttle through these spaces, but they also face significant restrictions. It's challenging for them to appear in the corpse realm. If you leave before the passage closes, there shouldn't be a problem. If you are unable to leave, no one knows what could happen. I have never heard of anyone attempting that. I see, Jiang Hao nodded. However, what he had felt was so clear that he doubted they were just illusions. He decided not to be rash for his own safety. After mining for so long, he hadn't seen any such monsters coming out of the cave. Is there anything else? Zhuang Yuzhen asked. Is there such a thing as an extraordinary genius in the corpse realm? Jiang Hao asked. Zhuang Yuzhen looked excited. Did the extraordinary genius appear? It seems like it. Jiang Hao nodded. What actually happened? Zhuang Yuzhen asked eagerly. Is an extraordinary genius that important? Jiang Hao was puzzled. Of course, Zhuang Yuzhen said. Since our sect opened up the corpse realm, there has only been one extraordinary genius about 200 years ago. It was only then that the term, extraordinary genius, was used. Zhuang Yuzhen looked confused. Weren't you in the blood-tide forest? How did you know about the extraordinary genius? The extraordinary genius was suspected to be in the blood-tide forest, and Heavenly Steel Mountain appeared in the blood-tide forest for that person. It was said that the mountain teleported to the blood-tide forest just 10 days after appearing in another region. Impossible. Zhuang Yuzhen found it hard to believe. How could such a thing be possible? It happened. What's so different about an extraordinary genius? Jiang Hao asked. The difference lies in the topmost stone tablet. Others have to climb up themselves, but the extraordinary genius can directly reach the top. And this is just the beginning, Zhuang Yuzhen said with a sigh. After going up, there are two possibilities. Chapter 335, The Extraordinary Genius. What are the two possibilities? Jiang Hao sat cross-legged on the floor and listened attentively. The truth is, the topmost stone tablet is blank and it's also the most special one. This stone tablet can also be used for enlightenment, but the results are completely different. Back then I also went up there. You should know that the entire Divine Corpse sect, including me, only had 7 people so far who managed to reach the top, Zhuang Yuzhen said. At that time, I sat in front of the stone tablet and cultivated for 7 days and 7 nights. In the end, I comprehended a divine ability, which was incredibly powerful. Jiang Hao felt envious. Do you think that is a good thing? Zhuang Yuzhen suddenly asked. Isn't it? Jiang Hao asked in return. I thought it was a good thing at the time. Zhuang Yuzhen smiled bitterly. But when I returned with excitement to inform my master, he sighed. He told me that among the 7 people who comprehended the stone tablet, only one person didn't gain anything. However, that person has already become one of the strongest in the Divine Corpse sect, and all the others look up to him. So, the true genius is the one who gains nothing. Jiang Hao was speechless. What if an ordinary person happened to go up there? At that time I was unconvinced. Later I went to meet that person. When he displayed his power and his aura, I understood the true difference in comprehending the stone tablet. What difference? Jiang Hao was curious. Shadow, Zhuang Yuzhen said earnestly. When I was comprehending the stone tablet, I saw some figures within it, and one of those figures was that person's. So, those who are truly recognized by Heavenly Steel Mountain will leave their own shadows. Why is King Hai Luo so quiet today? The woman seemed to have woken up. She looked at Jiang Hao, just a mere foundation establishment realm cultivator, yet you all give him such attention? Pathetic. Even though I'm weak right now, a foundation establishment realm cultivator is not even qualified to fetch my shoes. Jiang Hao ignored her and continued to talk with Zhuang Yuzhen. After that on his way back he thought about what he had learned. He was well aware of his own talent. He didn't entirely believe what Zhuang Yuzhen said. If there's no opportunity and you only leave a shadow behind, what's the point? Jiang Hao sighed and shook his head. What he wanted wasn't to leave a shadow behind, but to gain divine abilities or something related to talismans. Those things could benefit him. Leaving a shadow behind might be useful in the future or have some benefits for his reputation. However, those were the things he wanted to avoid. People might target him for it. So, it was best to remain a diligent inner sect disciple and focus on his own affairs. He had asked about what happened to those who stayed behind after the passage was closed. It seemed they disappeared and were never seen again. When he returned to the courtyard, it was already evening. As soon as he entered, he saw the spirit beast and Shaoli sitting in front of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. "I have a way to call back Master," the spirit beast said. "Really?" Shaoli was curious. "Everyone knows I never lie. Just watch," said the beast and sniffed the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. It then reached out its tongue to lick it. Just as its tongue was about to touch the flower, a familiar scabbard swung down and pinned its tongue to the ground. The spirit beast looked terrified and Shaoli looked stunned. "Master," said the spirit beast. Jiang Hao glanced at the beast. He then drew out his half-moon blade. He noticed some cracks on the blade. It was probably from the time he had faced those two primordial spirit realm cultivators in front of the mine. Golden core treasure has done well against primordial spirit realm cultivators until now. "Master, you returned so quickly?" The spirit beast jumped up on the table. "Wasn't it you who called me back?" Jiang Hao asked. Then he gazed at the immortal peach tree. "Who ate all the peaches?" Shaoli lowered her head and placed some white dates on the table. "For you, senior brother." Jiang Hao tried it and found it tasteless. He gave them back to Shaoli. He suddenly remembered that he had kept 2 pills from before. He checked it and found that it hadn't been damaged, so he gave them to Shaoli. After Shaoli left, Jiang Hao turned to the spirit beast. "What about the secret code?" "Master, rest assured my friends in the cultivation world all know about me. They will handle the matter without leaving any trace," said the beast. The spirit beast hadn't caused any trouble so far. Jiang Hao found out that a golden core realm cultivator had come for the secret code on the 3rd day after Jiang Hao left. "Didn't he discover you?" Jiang Hao asked. "I have some talismans and concealing abilities. He definitely didn't detect me," said the spirit beast. "Master, the golden core realm cultivator doesn't seem to respect you at all." "So? There are so many experts who don't respect me at all," said Jiang Hao. "Master, you can't be like this. You need to work harder," said the spirit beast. Jiang Hao ignored it. He asked about the golden core realm cultivator. "He's from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion?" Jiang Hao was surprised. "Did he wipe out the secret code?" "Yes. Not only did he wipe it, but he also left the mountain shortly after and hasn't returned since." Jiang Hao wasn't concerned about that. If he wanted to inquire about the end of all things, he could always do it through Dongfangji even if it was a little dangerous. "Have Lin Ji and Chu Chuan made any progress in the past year?" Jiang Hao asked. Chu Chuan has progressed quickly and has already reached the 6th stage of the lifeblood refinement realm. Lin Ji works very hard, but his cultivation hasn't changed at all, said the spirit beast. Jiang Hao wasn't surprised by Chu Chuan's progress, but he was curious about Lin Ji's situation. "What do you mean there has been no change?" Jiang Hao asked. "There's been no improvement in his cultivation at all," said the spirit beast with drooping ears. "I don't know why, but his cultivation hasn't made any progress." "What about other things?" Jiang Hao asked. "A lot more people have been bullying him, more than before." Jiang Hao was speechless. It seems that his 2 friends rarely appear now, so many people have started bullying him. He was getting beaten up every day. I saw him hiding in a corner and crying secretly. "Isn't Lin Ji around 14 or 15 years old?" Jiang Hao asked. "He's 15 and Chu Chuan is almost the same age," the beast said. "What about Shaoli?" Jiang Hao asked. "According to Ching Chou, she is 16 years old," the spirit beast said uncertainly. Shaoli still looked like she was still 12 or 13 years old. Jiang Hao wanted to ask some more questions, but he felt the stone tablet vibrate. He checked it and found out that there would be a gathering tonight as soon as the corpse realm closed. It seemed like they were in a hurry to know about the 6th stone tablet. I also need to consider what questions to ask. He would also receive the reward for his previous list. If Hai Luo hadn't deceived him, there would probably be a reward waiting for him. He took out some tea leaves and handed them to the beast. The spirit beast looked delighted. It ate some of the tea leaves. "Master, this is good. Is there more?" Jiang Hao was speechless. Seeing the spirit beast enjoy the tea so much, Jiang Hao wanted to try it himself. Chapter 336, Vast Heaven Platform. He needed to think about the previous gathering and his interaction with Gui. Then he thought about what he wanted as a reward. He had to ask questions without leaving any clue about his own identity. As for the matter of the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl, he still had no news about it. He hoped the others won't ask about it. With his answers in mind, Jiang Hao placed his half-moon blade in a corner of the courtyard. He waited for midnight to arrive. He asked the spirit beast why there was so much spiritual energy in the courtyard. The spirit beast told him that it was because of its friends from the underworld. Jiang Hao chuckled. At midnight, Jiang Hao sat on his bed and took out the stone tablet. He entered the common area. Once he arrived, he found his seat, and the other three also took their positions. Over the years, apart from them, no one else had come. After confirming that no one else would arrive, the four of them began to talk to Dan Yuan. "Do you have any doubts about your cultivation?" Dan Yuan asked. "Senior, I want to ask about the spiritual technique of the Heavenly Feather sect," said Gui. This surprised Jiang Hao. Did she already obtain the Sky Feather spiritual technique? "Do you mean the Sky Feather spiritual technique that can break through the bottleneck?" Dan Yuan asked. "Yes. Is that really possible?" Gui asked. Jiang Hao listened attentively. "It is possible." Dan Yuan nodded. "But the price is that you cannot cultivate other spiritual techniques. Moreover, in order to correctly cultivate the Sky Feather spiritual technique, you need to enter the Sky Feather lair. Otherwise, your primordial spirit will be cursed, and you will be turned into a puppet if you go to the Heavenly Feather sect. This is one possibility. Secondly, you can find 2 copies of the Sky Feather spiritual technique. Each one is different. But each copy is genuine and there is no problem cultivating it. You will face problems though. Even if you avoid the curse, there will be other issues. The Heavenly Feather sect used to lure people into the sect like this. Is it more difficult to learn than the Great Thousand Divine Avatars? Gui asked. This is the foundation of the Sky Cloud sect. The Great Thousand Divine Avatars are only a part of the Great Thousand Divine sect, so naturally they are different, Dan Yuan explained. I got a copy but it seems useless now, Gui said and shook her head in defeat. Jiang Hao was the same. He had also obtained a copy, but he never expected that he couldn't use or sell it at all. No problem. Let's move on to the previous task. Do you have any news about the Heavenly Fragrance Dao Flower? Dan Yuan asked. After that, a stone slab appeared in front of him. After a while, Dan Yuan nodded. You can start thinking about the reward you want. I'll leave it for later, Lu said. Dan Yuan nodded and then asked Jiang Hao and Lu to prepare the rewards they wanted. The previous list was correct. Is there any more on this? If not, this task is over. Some sects have already started being vigilant, Dan Yuan said. It was their goal to alert the other sections. They couldn't do it alone. Then what about the 6th stone tablet? Asked Dan Yuan. He looked at Gui and Jiang Hao. Gui glanced at Jiang Hao. I do have the contents of the 6th stone tablet. A stone slab appeared in front of her. After receiving the information, Dan Yuan asked again, anything else? Gui knew that Jing had been in the corpse realm too, so she thought he might have more information. Jiang Hao remained silent because he genuinely didn't know about the 6th stone tablet. Now you can talk about your rewards, Dan Yuan said to Jiang Hao and Lu. Lu asked about the information related to the 10,000 beings. Jiang Hao waited for Dan Yuan to finish explaining. After a while, Dan Yuan looked at Jiang Hao. What do you want to ask about, friend Jing? I want to know where I can learn the complete languages of various regions. The more comprehensive, the better, said Jiang Hao. He wanted to learn the languages that he had heard in the corpse realm, but he couldn't ask about them directly. He could only start with common languages. Even if he didn't find anything, he could expand his search in the future. He might even directly assign tasks to them. Languages. Dan Yuan said, I have them here. As he spoke, a stone tablet appeared in front of Jiang Hao. He saw countless characters. He hadn't seen most of them ever in his life. It took him a long time to memorize them. It's quite comprehensive, Dan Yuan said. Jiang Hao thanked him. Senior Dan Yuan was indeed quite knowledgeable. There are no additional tasks this time. You can freely talk with each other, Dan Yuan said with a smile. When you have time, please keep an eye on Gu Qing for me, Xing said to Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao nodded. It had been more than a year since Xing had given him that task. However, he wasn't pushing him to find out more. He was being polite. However, Jiang Hao had no idea where Gu Qing was, so he could only wait and see. Apart from Jiang Hao and Lu's transactions, the others didn't have anything to trade. So, it was time for them to talk about things they had found. Didn't I say before that there are astonishing geniuses in the corpse realm? Gui said eagerly. Do you know how terrifying that genius was? How terrifying? Lu asked. Heavenly Steel Mountain summoned him several times, but he never came. Then the mountain appeared to find him, said Gui. At that time I was on Heavenly Steel Mountain. The next moment, we were all at the Blood Tide Forest in the Foundation Establishment region. Although some people think that the extraordinary genius is in the Foundation Establishment realm, I think that's impossible. I think he is an expert, but he happened to be in that region. No one knows why. However, I heard a name. Shang'an. Some people think that the extraordinary genius might be him, especially since all the commotion in the Foundation Establishment region was because of him. Gui looked at Jiang Hao because she thought that Jiang Hao was probably there at that time too. She even suspected to some extent that Jiang Hao might be an extraordinary genius. Don't look at me, Jiang Hao sighed inwardly. He had never admitted that he was in the corpse realm. He remained silent. Heavenly Steel Mountain appeared just for him? I think that's a first, said Dan Yuan. He was surprised, but he didn't appear envious. Speaking of extraordinary geniuses, I also heard about one. Xing looked at everyone. Do you remember what I said last time? It was about the elder of Clear Sky School crossing through space and leaving. She returned recently, and it said that she brought back a person. No one knows much about this person, but it seems that he was injured pretty badly. After he was treated, the first thing they did was to send him to the vast heaven platform to see how many realms he could reach. And then? Gui asked. Chapter 337. Time for a surprise. Jiang Hao knew that it was Shang'an. With Xing's connection, we'll soon find out that it is Shang'an. What will Gui do then? When Heavenly Steel Mountain appeared in Blood Tide Forest, Shang'an was already gone from the corpse realm. When they find out that Shang'an had already left, they would know that he wasn't the extraordinary genius. Jiang Hao didn't care about that. No matter what happened, it would be difficult for them to guess that he had been in the Foundation Establishment region. He needed to be more cautious. He only had one question about Xing's explanation. What exactly was the vast heaven platform? It gets interesting, said Xing. At that time, I happened to be outside when I saw thunder in the clear sky, followed by a 7-colored radiance falling on the Clear Sky School. The 7-colored light is the most extraordinary phenomenon of the vast heaven platform. At that time I was far away, but I could still hear the commotion in the entire Clear Sky School. Many experts broke out of their seclusion. The cultivator who was trying to break into the Clear Sky School was right. Many regretted not listening to him. So many tried to recruit the gifted person as their disciple, but none succeeded. The entire thing alerted the Bright Moon sect. Now they have postponed the Tao conference. They want everything to settle down first before they go through with it. Why? Jiang Hao was puzzled. Why? Gui asked too. Because that person possesses a saintly heart, and under his influence the Bright Moon sect's grand plan might fail, said Xing. Jiang Hao suddenly remembered what Hong Yuye had said. Because they are attempting a heavenly Tao. Heavenly Tao? The three of them looked at Jiang Hao with confusion. What the Bright Moon sect truly seeks is probably not just the favor of heaven and earth, but the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment, he said. They were shocked because they had never heard of the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment before. They looked at Dan Yuan. Dan Yuan frowned. It's indeed possible. The Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment disappeared from the cultivation world for a long time. The criteria were extremely strict and not many people could achieve it. It was extremely difficult. If the Bright Moon sect encounters a talented disciple, they do have the capability to attempt something like that. If it's really the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment, there will be two signs. First, that talented disciple has yet to establish their foundation. Secondly, the Clear Sky School's 7-colored radiance will have a great impact. If it continues, it might disrupt the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment. Therefore, there must be some high-level members of the Bright Moon sect heading to the Clear Sky School. Xing was greatly surprised. Everyone knew that some high-level members of the Bright Moon sect had gone to Clear Sky School. It seems that Jing had read some quite extraordinary books, said Dan Yuan. I just happened to come across the descriptions. There's not much more to it. Jiang Hao said. It was the truth. He needed Dan Yuan's expertise on the matter. Dan Yuan looked at everyone. The appearance of the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment might be of some benefit to us. First, there is the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, and then there might be the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl, both of which require the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment. We should try our best to support the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment. The more stable the world, the better it is for us. Everyone nodded. Jiang Hao also felt the same way. In this way, even if he escaped in the future, he won't have to face extreme calamities. Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl and Earth Extreme Silent Pearl were two things he couldn't fight against. What is the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment? Gui asked. It's to be suppressed by the great power of heaven and earth, assisted by the aura of a powerful expert, and accommodate the great power of heaven and earth to achieve the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment realm. Those who establish the Heavenly Tao will be favored by heaven and earth and can later become possessors of great auras. Those with great auras can suppress all evil in the world, Dan Yuan said. The others were in disbelief. They looked at Jiang Hao in astonishment. The more they thought they knew him, the more mysterious he turned out to be. Jiang Hao was satisfied that he had succeeded in making himself appear mysterious and unpredictable. Then they continued to talk about other matters. Speaking of which, I have been investigating Hai Luo and found that he disappeared as if he encountered an enemy. I plan to find his lover. I discovered that they are in the process of moving to another location because the Heavenly King has been missing for too long. I have confirmed that they are somewhere on Heavenly Moon Island. It's a nice but quite expensive place. The Heavenly King Hai Luo is quite generous. I even suspect that he has used most of his assets to support this woman. Lu found it amusing. The renowned Heavenly King was unexpectedly in love. Lu suddenly remembered something. By the way, I want to ask you about something. Recently, the Heavenly King's partner disappeared in the southern region, most likely due to the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl. I can pay to get information about her. Her name is Mi Lingyue. I'll ask around and see if I find anything, said Gui. Only she and Jing are in the southern region. Jiang Hao also made a mental note of the name. She might actually be in Heavenly Note sect since the sect was hunting the members of the End of All Things right now. If not, he won't be able to do anything. They talked for a while before the gathering came to an end. The first thing Jiang Hao did after leaving was to write down everything he had learned, especially about the Book of Languages. Early in the morning, Jiang Hao finally closed the book. He had just finished writing. The next step was to study it. After that, Jiang Hao began to take stock of everything he had learned so far from the gathering. At the White Moon Lake, a woman dressed in black robes arrived at the lakeside and bowed to the figure in white. Elder Baiji. Baiji gazed at the lake's surface. She seemed lost in thought. She sighed softly. Speak. The people we captured are all stubborn and uncooperative. Moreover, the Heavenly King who used to be a bit cooperative has turned sides and become even more unyielding. The woman in the black robe was puzzled. Yesterday Jiang Hao went to visit him. Compared to before, he shouldn't be so stubborn. I wonder if something happened between them. Let him try. If it doesn't work, forget it, Baiji said calmly. They have captured a lot of people and there were still more to come. They didn't need to rush to find out their purpose. There was plenty of time for that. One by one they would eventually break. Then they would make it seem like they had a chance to escape. When they finally try to flee, they would all be killed. The others would be made to watch so that they wouldn't try anything like that. Is everything prepared for dealing with the Heavenly Saint sect? Baiji asked. The matter concerns their sect, and she intended to personally pay them a visit. She wanted to deal a heavy blow to them. It's ready and we can set off in a few days. Chapter 338. A new junior sister wants to join the Spirit Herb Garden. Putting away the comprehensive language guide, Jiang Hao began to reflect on the gathering. The task for the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl has been completed, and the task for the 6th stone tablet is also done. Only the Heavenly Fragrance Tao Flower is left. The outcome had been good. If the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl was nowhere to be found, everything would be okay. As for the contents of the 6th stone tablet and its impact, it was still unclear. There was no need to think too much about the Heavenly Fragrance Tao Flower for now. He needed to keep an eye on the undercover agents of the End of All Things. There was also the matter of Gu Qing, which was the most difficult one. However, she had supposedly fled to the south, so she should be hiding in some sect. Heavenly Note sect has some reputation in the south, and it's a newly rising sect, so the likelihood of being chosen is high. Moreover, this sect is very strict about its rules, which can help them avoid danger. There was no choice but to wait and see what happened with Gu Qing. If she surfaced here, Jiang Hao could handle it. If not, he would just tell Xing that he couldn't find anything about Gu Qing. After all tasks didn't need to be completed. There were other things to think about, like Shang'an. Shang'an had made it to the Clear Sky School. As his master had said, his future was bright. Jiang Hao couldn't help but sigh when he thought about how he had disrupted Shang'an's plans. He should probably avoid Shang'an in the future. There's also the good news that the Bright Moon Sect's Dao conference has been delayed, giving Chu Chuan ample time to improve. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for him to advance to the Foundation Establishment realm. If it hadn't been for Lu, I would have never found out. Wouldn't he have laughed at me if I had used another name to threaten him next time? The gathering was over, and he needs to familiarize himself with the situation in the sect. He also needs to be on guard against Gue. He didn't know where she was right now. Jiang Hao felt uneasy when he arrived at his courtyard. The abundant spiritual energy made him feel strange. He always felt like there were secrets hidden here that he couldn't see. It was like living in a wooden hut all his life and suddenly moving to a palace. Something just didn't feel right. I need to figure out the source of this change. Early in the morning, Jiang Hao watered the heavenly fragrance Dao flower and kicked the drooling beast softly on the rear. Let's go. The spirit beast opened its eyes in a daze and looked at Jiang Hao in confusion. It seemed to be asking, "When did you come back, master?" Then realization dawned on it. Jiang Hao left the courtyard. "Master, you weren't here for a year. Did you bring me a gift?" asked the spirit beast as it followed Jiang Hao. "Yes." Jiang Hao nodded. "I brought you 24,000 spirit stones. What is it? My friends are waiting to see my gift." "It'll take some time. Let me check the situation here first." Jiang Hao smiled. "By the way, someone came looking for you," said the beast. "Who?" Jiang Hao glanced at the beast. The spirit beast was at the Foundation Establishment realm and its collar was at the Golden Core realm. It should last a long time. Jiang Hao could have saved the money instead of buying the collar, but the spirit beast was just too noisy and kept pestering him. "It's the same one who said she ate people." The spirit beast seemed a little frightened. "I feel like she doesn't show me any respect. She won't become the new mistress, will she?" "No, she won't," Jiang Hao said. He knew who the spirit beast was referring to. It was Mingyi. Mingyi's cultivation should be at the early or middle stage of the Golden Core realm now. However, she couldn't be underestimated. If possible, it was best not to treat her as an enemy. "Anything else?" Jiang Hao asked. "Spirit Herb Garden has been busy. Xiaoli and I often go around to test Chu Chuan." Jiang Hao understood. Ching Chou didn't have time to accompany them. In the past, Ching Chou always watched over them. However, what puzzled Jiang Hao was why the Spirit Herb Garden had become so busy. As he thought about it, a talisman flew towards him. It was from the White Moon Lake. Elder Baiji wanted him to visit the Lawless Tower and interrogate Heavenly King Hai Lu again. Jiang Hao was confused. Zhuang Yuzhen came for the Heavenly Fragrance Dao flower, so it made sense for him to interrogate him. Heavenly King Hai Luo was related to the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, so why should he be the one to interrogate him? Before, King Hai Luo cooperated with the sect. Otherwise, he would have already fallen far below in his cultivation. Why is he being stubborn now? Suddenly, Jiang Hao thought of what Lu had said. Could it be because his people had moved to another place already? Jiang Hao couldn't help but feel that Lu was truly an extraordinary person. Jiang Hao wasn't in a hurry to go to the Lawless Tower immediately. Elder Baiji hadn't given him a deadline. Today he wanted to visit the Spirit Herb Garden and wanted to find out what was going on. If he had time after that, he would visit the Lawless Tower tonight or tomorrow. He would talk to King Hai Luo for a bit and then continue with his other tasks. He needed to keep him hanging just like he had done with Zhuang Yuzhen. Being too direct might not yield any results. After all, he couldn't really threaten Miao Anshin for real. Jiang Hao saw that people were busy at work in the Spirit Herb Garden. Jiang Hao could tell that there would be turmoil in the Heavenly Note sect in the coming days. Either someone would attack them or they were going to attack someone else. Most of these spirit herbs were for healing injuries. Some could be ingested directly, while others needed to be sent to the alchemists. Some herbs could help concentrate one's energy and enhance cultivation. They needed to be fully prepared and there could be no time when the fight began. The time of a fight or a war was the most beneficial time for the Heavenly Note sect. The spirit herbs sold like hotcakes, and the ones who came back alive after the fight was done would usually have advanced a lot in their cultivation. Senior brother Jiang, you're finally back. Cheng Cho let out a sigh of relief when he saw Jiang Hao. He found that it wasn't as easy as he thought to oversee the spirit herb garden. The pressure was too much and he always received too many orders for spirit herbs. He heard that the other spirit herb gardens in the sect had some minor accidents. He had listened to Jiang Hao and hadn't added anyone new to the garden. He would only allow people to join if Jiang Hao agreed. Cheng Cho knew that he wasn't good at judging people, so he waited for Jiang Hao to come back. You've worked hard. Jiang Hao looked around the garden. He found that there were quite a few special spirit herbs in the corners. Whose are those? They were sent by the 100 Bones Forest. They said they wanted to foster them here for a while. 100 Bones Forest? Jiang Hao thought of Bai Yi. Is he finally making a move? Has my sealing technique failed? Jiang Hao felt that he needed to advance as soon as possible and visit Bai Yi. By the way, some seniors plan to send people here to help us. I dared not to take in any new workers. This time, it's newly recruited only outer sect and inner sect disciples, said Cheng Cho helplessly. I told them that I needed a bit more time to decide because I couldn't just allow anyone in. Inner sect disciples are coming? Jiang Hao felt that one spirit herb garden didn't require so many inner sect disciples. It was enough. Sometimes, others would visit for a while and leave. Cheng Cho joined recently mainly because of Shaoli. Now there were even more coming in and he couldn't help but feel that they were here to compete for positions. It's a junior sister who said she wanted to join, Cheng Cho said. Junior? Jiang Hao was puzzled. Among the inner sect disciples, Cheng Cho was the youngest. How was it that there was another junior sister? Chapter 339. The Unyielding Heavenly King. Currently, the most likely candidate to become an inner sect disciple is Shaoli. But Shaoli needed to surpass the 8th stage of the lifeblood refinement realm to enter the inner sect. If the master wanted to accept her as a true disciple, she would have to wait until she reached the foundation establishment realm. Apart from Shaoli, there wasn't any other candidate for the inner sect. Unless someone from outside advanced to foundation establishment realm soon. The outer sect disciples of the Heavenly Note sect didn't belong to any specific branch. Once they advanced, they could choose to join a branch. Jiang Hao was brought to the Cliff of Broken Heart because he reached the 8th stage of the lifeblood refinement realm before turning 18. That had made him eligible to join the inner sect. He felt concerned about the newly recruited junior sister, especially since she willingly joined the spirit herb garden. Yes, that junior sister is a newly recruited disciple. It is said that she was a rogue cultivator before and joined the sect at the early stage of the foundation establishment realm, Cheng Cho said. Rogue cultivator? Jiang Hao nodded. He was on guard. This didn't seem right. When do you want to meet her, senior brother Jiang? Cheng Cho asked. Bring her here tomorrow, Jiang Hao said. Today he needed to familiarize himself with the situation in the spirit herb garden. He had been away for too long. If it weren't for the fact that no one was willing to stay in the spirit herb garden, he might have gone to do something else. Jiang Hao inquired about the situation in the outer sect's spirit herb garden. It was still in progress. It would take more time for the barren land to turn into a spirit field. Although the spirit field under their jurisdiction was only average, it ranked 9th among the 12 branches. Isn't that third from last? Jiang Hao found it amusing, but he didn't say anything. The important thing was to participate. When the time came, one of the branches would take over everything, and they would cooperate accordingly. Jiang Hao observed the spirit herbs and the workers in the spirit herb garden. For now, everything seemed fine. However, it was getting difficult for the workers because of the increased workload. Still, no one was slacking off. They were very diligent in their work. They also knew that this was the best place to be. Some of the workers, especially non-cultivators, had worked in other places before and weren't treated well. Cheng Cho had also visited other spirit herb gardens and seen the condition of the workers there. Many inner sect disciples simply didn't care about them. As long as they did their work properly, they would be treated badly here. Many felt that this garden was run like a righteous sect where everyone was treated well. Cheng Cho felt embarrassed when he heard that, but he felt that it was true. Jiang Hao was always good to everyone working here. After all, he had been on the receiving end of Jiang Hao's kindness many times. If he hadn't met senior brother Jiang Hao, he might have had no hope of reaching the Foundation establishment realm in his entire life. At this moment, Jiang Hao saw that there were some vacant spirit fields and felt that he could plant some spirit herbs there. But he needed to handle it properly. The sealing technique should not be seen by anyone. After taking care of the spirit herbs for the whole afternoon, everyone was aware of his return. He began to take over from here on out. The ones who were the happiest to see him were the ordinary non-cultivators. In the evening, Jiang Hao left the spirit herb garden and went to the Lawless Tower. First, he would chat with Heavenly King Hai Luo. He was just getting used to a day without mining. These 2 days he hadn't received any blue bubbles. He hadn't seen a single white bubble either. He had to wait until tomorrow for that. In the cave, he had found so many white bubbles that it had made him feel motivated. That feeling disappeared after returning home. In an inner sect courtyard of the Cliff of Broken Hearts, a beautiful woman sat cross-legged. She was deep in cultivation. When she opened her eyes, a trace of blood appeared on her brows, and her face turned pale for a moment. My injuries are severe. I need to go to the spirit herb garden as soon as possible to absorb some spiritual aura to restore my strength. It's a pity that I got struck by an early-stage Foundation establishment realm cultivator. I'll wait a few more days. If they don't let go, I'll deal with them. I can't let a Foundation establishment realm cultivator affect my recovery. As for the sect's rules, she didn't care at all. These rules were just for show. Which sect was not like this? If she didn't get caught, no one would care. Even if someone suspected something, who would stand up for an ordinary disciple? As long as she contacted the person in charge of the investigation, and let them know why they shouldn't offend her, everything would be fine. The Heavenly Note sect is not bad, but the level of disciples is clearly inferior to other major sections. The high-ranking members aren't very strong either. Although they can't help me against the Bright Moon sect, this place is safer for me. I can recover properly and hide for a while. She was Gu Qing, who had escaped to Heavenly Note sect. She joined the sect with Foundation establishment realm cultivation and had treasures that could perfectly conceal her real cultivation realm. No one here would detect it. The people she interacted with were all weak. She could kill them with no consequence. There was a knock on the door. Gu Qing walked over and opened it. There was a handsome man at the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm standing at the door. It was the person who had brought her into the sect. Junior Sister Gu, were you resting? Not really. How can I help you, Senior Brother Tian? You said you wanted to help out in the Spirit Herb Garden, right? A junior has returned, and tomorrow you can go and meet him. He is in charge of the garden, Senior Brother Tian said. He's your junior? Why did Senior Brother Cheng refuse in the beginning? She asked. That junior who has returned is in charge of the Spirit Herb Garden, that's why. When recruiting new workers, his approval is needed. Yes, Senior. Sister Miao backing him, and also Senior Brother Mu Qi. Senior Brother Mu is a true disciple and has a high status in the sect. He is also Senior Sister Miao's partner. They have a good relationship with Junior Brother Jiang, so he has a lot of say on how to run the Spirit Herb Garden. I see. Gu Qing nodded. Will Senior Brother Jiang not let me join? Unlikely. The Spirit Herb Garden is currently short on people. You can help there for a while, and your future cooperation will depend on your abilities, Senior Brother Tian said with a smile. Thank you, Senior Brother. Gu Qing smiled. You're welcome. I can see that you have extremely high talent and they will like you. I like helping you, said Senior Brother Tian in embarrassment. Then Senior Brother, will you come and pick me up tomorrow? Asked Gu Qing. Senior Brother Tian nodded and left. Gu Qing watched him leave. Men, they're all the same. Senior Brother Tian finally breathed a sigh of relief. I fell into her trap again. I need to get rid of her as soon as possible. She's just a woman. How was I so willing to help her? Senior Brother Tian felt wary and didn't want to meet her again. Such people were dangerous. He shouldn't try to provoke her. In the Lawless Tower, Jiang Hao arrived at the 5th floor and met the black-robed woman guarding it. Junior Brother, can you help me find out about their purpose in coming here? If you can't get anything from them, it's okay. It's just that Hai Luo's attitude has been very strange lately. I just want you to confirm what's going on. Strange? Jiang Hao was puzzled. She explained everything. Lately, Hai Luo had become stubborn and arrogant as if he had nothing to fear. Jiang Hao nodded. He had a rough guess of why he was acting like that. He also wanted to meet the Heavenly King Hai Luo. Chapter 340, I Prefer the Unruly Heavenly King. Hai Luo, the Heavenly King, made the interrogation more challenging with his stubbornness. Most people didn't know as much as he did. Previously, they could interrogate others based on Hai Luo's information, after which he would confirm whether the information was accurate. However, everything they got out of him or the others was false information. Hai Luo kept insisting that what he said was true as if he was mocking everyone. The black-robed woman concealed herself and left Jiang Hao alone to deal with the situation. He approached Zhuang Yuzhen, who seemed to have found a way to deal with the stripping down of his cultivation. He looked better than before. Moreover, the cage seemed to provide some protection so it could maintain a balance. The Heavenly King Hai Luo was in very good condition too. He had managed to stay at the late stage of the primordial spirit realm by betraying his companions. The Heavenly Note sect hadn't yet revoked the protection on him, even though he was being uncooperative. What do you want to ask today? Zhuang Yuzhen looked up at Jiang Hao. I'm here to see the Heavenly King Hai Luo, Jiang Hao said calmly. Zhuang Yuzhen was surprised. It was the first time Jiang Hao had come to see Hai Luo. He remembered that Hai Luo had been talking fearlessly a lot lately. Moreover, after seeing Jiang Hao yesterday, he seemed to want to see him again. Looking for me? Hai Luo smiled. Why do you want to see me? Jiang Hao walked over and looked at the Heavenly King in front of him. It seemed like he had been waiting for this day for a long time. I heard that you have not been cooperating with our sect lately, so I wanted to ask why, Jiang Hao said calmly. Why? Hai Luo burst into laughter. What a king does or doesn't is his own choice. Do I have to tell you everything, you brat? Oh. The woman in the third cell was surprised. Why are you being noisy again? What is it this time? I'm just curious. Jiang Hao looked at the person in front of him. Curious? Hai Luo leaned back and made himself comfortable. Then let me tell you why. Because this king has had his fun. When I came here it was too boring. I wanted to play with you all for a while. Now that I have had my fun, I won't play anymore. It's a pity that you scums can only use sneak attacks. That's right, said the woman excitedly. This sect is simply insane, even more sinister and dirty than our methods overseas. They even impersonated my husband and used charm techniques on me. I thought my husband was disgusted with me. I still have trauma from that. Dirty, despicable bunch of scumbags. Have the guts to fight me head on. Jiang Hao was speechless. He couldn't understand the woman at all. Nevertheless, she was right. The Heavenly Note sect's methods were unsightly. However, why were they taking unnecessary risks if they knew what the sect would do? You guys do some ruthless things even more than those of us overseas. You're not worthy of being called a demonic sect, the woman said in anger. Jiang Hao sighed inwardly. Zhuang Yuzhen didn't say anything. He had been defeated. It seems that we need to find a way to make you feel less bored, said Jiang. Oh. How do you plan on doing that? Can you make me happy? Hai Luo stared at Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao gestured to the person in front of him. When Hai Luo couldn't come any nearer, he lowered his hand. All right, 3 words. After hearing them you will be happy, Jiang Hao said. Zhuang Yuzhen looked at Jiang Hao and waited for him to speak. The woman beside him looked confused. What was this Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator doing? Was he really threatening Hai Luo? How was that possible? Many people had approached him and threatened him, but they couldn't make him talk. What could a mere Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator achieve? Ha ha ha. Hai Luo looked at Jiang Hao and laughed. Do you really think that trick will work? That's funny. I was just playing with you last time. You actually took it seriously. It's so hilarious that I can't stop laughing. Jiang Hao smiled and then softly uttered 3 words. Heavenly King Hai Luo was stunned. He then burst into laughter again. He held his stomach and laughed. How ridiculous. Why don't you go and look in the mirror to see how ridiculous you look now? Do you really think you're some extraordinary figure? You want to make me happy? You want me to cooperate? It's impossible. Hai Luo then calmed himself. Next time they have questions, tell them to ask me directly. The woman who had admired him looked puzzled. So, the Heavenly King just surrendered? Zhuang Yuzhen sneered. I preferred the unruly Heavenly King Hai Luo. Bastard, just fight me one-on-one then. You dare to be so arrogant when you are only at the early stage of the primordial spirit realm. You little piece of trash. Zhuang Yuzhen sneered in contempt. Meanwhile, the woman looked stunned. Why did Hai Luo give in so easily? You are from overseas, right? Why did you come to the southern region? Jiang Hao asked. The purpose was something the black-robed guard wanted him to find out about. For luck. Although our group appears to be targeting the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, they are actually here for luck. Everyone knows the terror of the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl. It needs strong luck to suppress it. The fact that the pearl had surfaced means that there must be such luck nearby. As for myself, I came for the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl. With it in my possession, no one in this realm will dare to cross me, said Hai Luo. Then he asked in a low voice, do you still need further cooperation? Jiang Hao was speechless. He was suddenly curious about Mian Xian. Her name could make Hai Luo cooperate with them in such a way. The woman beside him was also puzzled. She was curious about what had made Hai Luo give in so easily. She looked at Jiang Hao. Hey, how did you make him give up that easily? Maybe you can make me cooperate too. Come on, don't be shy. Tell me a few words and make me cooperate too. Jiang Hao observed the woman in the third cell. She was injured everywhere. Her face was covered in scars. Her hair was disheveled. Otherwise she appeared quite ordinary. He used his daily appraisal ability on her. Chapter 341. I advise you to be careful. Jiang Hao was surprised at the information he received. Mi Lingyue? It was the person mentioned by Lu. She was indeed captured. However, her situation is quite unusual. She was supposed to be an undercover agent, but she was unlike anyone he had seen before. She had genuinely fallen in love with someone and even had a child. She had kept it a secret too. Now she wanted to leave the Great Thousand God sect for the sake of her child. Her purpose matched what Hai Luo had said about powerful luck. Jiang Hao was curious. Could such an elusive thing really be found? He didn't find it in the ruins back then, and even after bringing out the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, he didn't find it either. Hong Yuya told him that the supreme luck would return to the world. He found it unlikely. Jiang Hao didn't know much about it and didn't need to worry about it. As for making Mi Lingyue cooperate, there was no need. The purpose of his trip to the Lawless Tower was to get Hai Luo to cooperate. He didn't want to be involved in unnecessary things. Jiang Hao glanced at the woman and then turned and left. Hey, what's the matter? Come and tell me. If you don't, I won't cooperate with you anymore, Mi Lingyue shouted. Jiang Hao ignored her. As for Zhuang Yuzhen, he just wanted to know about the heavenly fragrance. Dao flower. However, obtaining the flower turned out to be extremely difficult. Besides, his corpse heart was still in Jiang Hao's hands. As long as he remained in the Lawless Tower, he would be threatened. There was no need to rush. Jiang Hao left the 5th level while Mi Lingyue shouted behind. The extra information didn't concern him. However, it was still useful to know more about Mi Lingyue. In the next gathering he could relay the information to Lu. Zhuang Yuzhen glanced at Mi Lingyue. I advise you to not be like Hai Luo. You might get yourself into trouble. I don't believe that a few words from him can make me give in so easily, Mi Lingyue said confidently. Hai Luo looked up at the ceiling. Back then I was also this confident. You were just as confident a few moments ago, Mi Lingyue sneered. Unfortunately, your confidence didn't last long. Zhuang Yuzhen felt bitter as he recalled his own experience. He was also quite arrogant before, but now he felt afraid whenever he saw Jiang Hao beckoning through the cell bars. Hai Luo's face darkened. After I get out, I will crush the entire Heavenly Note sect and exterminate all the demonic sect. That's my duty. Zhuang Yuzhen nodded. He had never hated a demonic sect like this before. Hai Luo, what did that Foundation Establishment Realm Cultivator say that made you surrender like this? Mi Lingyue asked. Hee, when did I surrender? I'm just playing with him. Don't tell me you took that seriously. Jiang Hao returned to his courtyard. The spirit beast was lying in front of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower and sniffing it. Fortunately, it only seemed to sniff plants. If it tried the same thing with Shaoli, Jiang Hao would have clobbered it on the head. Jiang Hao thought of Gue. She seemed to have a lot of connections in the southern region. She must have found out about Mi Lingyue too. He shouldn't compete with her. Maybe he could just add to her findings. That way he could demonstrate his magnanimity and his intelligence. The only troublesome thing was that he hadn't received any news about Gu Qing yet. It wouldn't be good to show that he knew too much. What he needed to do now was to maintain balance and treat everyone equally. He needed to gain their respect and not provoke them in any way. Jiang Hao was curious about which sect Gue belonged to. The corpse realm was closed and the people from the divine corpse sect might have left already. Would she stay behind? He couldn't ask about that. It would attract unnecessary attention. Jiang Hao took out some spirit herbs and planted some in the courtyard. The better ones were sent to the spirit herb garden, and the rest were sealed. However, he couldn't keep them sealed for long. They would wither. Having too many spirit herbs would be problematic to sell. After selling the herbs, I would have to spend a little bit more spirit stones. His cultivation now was at a level where people mostly saved spirit stones to buy a heavenly rejuvenation pill to advance to the golden core realm. He needed to pretend to do that too. If he sold enough spirit herbs, he could earn enough to buy 2 such pills. He needed to buy a saber. The previous one had cracks on it, and he had impaled it in a corner of the courtyard. This time he would buy a golden core magic treasure. He would search for the cheapest one he could find. It would cost about 3,000. In one night, Jiang Hao had collected many spirit herbs. The most ordinary ones were planted in the courtyard, while the better ones were taken to spirit herb garden. He pretended that these were all the gains from this trip. The rest of the spirit herbs were placed in a room and stored away. The next day, Jiang Hao arrived at the spirit herb garden early and found the senior who oversaw the management of the garden. "Are you fostering these herbs here?" asked the senior. Since Jiang Hao worked in the garden, the senior gave him a discount for fostering the herbs. Jiang Hao gave him 2 spirit stones. The senior smiled and let Jiang Hao choose a location he liked. Jiang Hao found a spot and began planting the herbs. The spirit herbs looked like they were wilting. He had done that deliberately. If the spirit herbs were in perfect condition, it would raise suspicion. After he finished planting the spirit herbs, Ching Chou walked over to him. "Senior brother Jiang, the people I told you about yesterday? They're here. 1 from the inner sect, 3 from the outer sect, and 8 ordinary non-cultivators," Ching Chou said. "Good." Jiang Hao nodded and walked outside. At the entrance of the spirit herb garden, Jiang Hao saw a late stage Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator leading the group to the garden. "Senior brother Tian," said Jiang Hao in a polite greeting. He knew senior brother Tian. "Junior brother Jiang, it's been a while." Senior brother Tian smiled. "Today I brought junior sister Gu Qing with me. She seems to be interested in spirit herbs and wants to help in the spirit herb garden. I hope you can let her assist here for a while." "Gu Qing?" Jiang Hao turned to look. A beautiful woman was standing beside senior brother Tian. She was clutching her clothes nervously. Is she using a charm technique? Jiang Hao had seen something like this before, but he wasn't entirely sure. That wasn't the only thing. Her spiritual energy, her lifeblood, and her aura were all strange. It didn't seem like she was at the Foundation Establishment realm. Jiang Hao was on guard. He felt that she was dangerous. Is she an undercover agent? He wasn't sure, but he smiled at senior brother Tian. Of course. Thank you, junior brother Jiang. I have a task outside the sect, so I won't be able to look after her for a while. I'll leave her in your care, he said. I'm very sorry for troubling you two seniors, said Gu Qing softly. Her voice was pleasant to the ears. However, Jiang Hao felt nothing. After senior brother Tian left, Jiang Hao checked the others. He didn't find anything amiss. It would take time to examine them individually to be sure whether they concealed any dangers. For today, Jiang Hao was going to use his appraisal on junior sister Gu Qing. She seemed suspicious. Chapter 342, Going Too Far. Jiang Hao led the group to the spirit herb garden. Ching Chou and Jiang Hao allocated tasks to them. Jiang Hao activated his divine ability and appraised Gu Qing. Jiang Hao walked to a small pavilion in the garden. He appeared calm, but many things were running through his mind. Late stage of return to Void Realm. Jiang Hao didn't even know what realm that was. Now, such a powerful expert was beside him and possibly was planning to kill him. She was too strong. He couldn't defend against her. He wouldn't even get a chance to fight back, let alone escape. There was no doubt that Gu Qing was actually Gu Qing. She came to the Heavenly Note sect for refuge, but she's much stronger than expected. She has fallen to the late stage of return to Void Realm after suffering severe injuries, which means Lu and Xing are also exceptionally powerful. Gu Qing slipped through the net. She was first captured by Xing and then again by Lu. Her escape wasn't due to her cultivation but because of a precious treasure she possessed. Jiang Hao had no idea what this treasure was, nor did he have any thoughts about it. He was in danger and had no means to escape it. I need to calm her first and provide her with a good environment for recovery. I must do something. Jiang Hao couldn't come up with a good solution. The gap in power was too great. After the tasks were assigned, Ching Cho came over to him. "What task did you assign to that junior sister?" Jiang Hao asked. "Junior sister Gu says she wants to take care of some of the spirit herbs, so I agreed," said Ching Cho. Ching Cho felt happy to help. Jiang Hao glanced at him. His gaze seemed to pierce into the depths of Ching Cho's soul. Ching Cho shivered. He was confused. Jiang Hao sighed. "For the next few days, you can take care of the outer sect's spirit herb garden, or you can accompany the spirit beast to handle other matters." "All right." Ching Cho was puzzled. Although he didn't understand the reason, he didn't dare ask about it. After Ching Cho left, Jiang Hao began to tend to the spirit herbs. Occasionally, he felt stolen glances directed at him. He knew it was Gu Qing. He couldn't take it anymore. Jiang Hao was worried that she would attack him. It seemed that she didn't understand the rules of the Heavenly Note sect. Although he wanted to see her punished for this, he didn't want to become the victim of her attack. Jiang Hao left the spirit herb garden and headed straight for the law enforcement hall. A year had passed. Lu Xingqian should be back by now. The Lawless Tower had captured quite a few people targeting the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl. A pioneer like Lu Xingqian was no longer necessary for the hunt. Indeed, he did find Lu Xingqian there. "Junior brother Jiang, you've reached the peak of the Foundation establishment realm." Lu Xingqian was surprised. "It seems like the opportunities in the corpse realm are really amazing." "It was just luck. An extraordinary genius appeared in the corpse realm," said Jiang Hao. Given Lu Xingqian's abilities and connections, he might have known that already. Lu Xingqian's current state was a bit strange. He had no aura at all. Those 3 remnant souls might have joined forces already. Why hadn't they launched a counterattack even after a year? Did they fail? Why would Lu Xingqian's aura be so pure now? It was completely different from before. If he hadn't used up his daily appraisal ability, he would have used it on Lu Xingqian. However, the possibility of those 3 souls being devoured was low. Lu Xingqian's strength was the same as before. In other words, his primordial spirit hadn't been replenished. Or maybe they had succeeded in possessing Lu Xingqian, and this person wasn't Lu Xingqian anymore. But that seemed unlikely. Extraordinary genius? It seems I need to find time one day to sit and talk with you about everything that happened there. Lu Xingqian smiled. Anyway, what brings you here? He was more interested in what Jiang Hao was involved in this time. I feel that the spirit herb garden might have some spies, said Jiang Hao solemnly. But I'm not entirely sure. Since he couldn't handle it himself, he had to seek help from the law enforcement hall. Although Gu Qing wasn't a spy, she deserved to be caught by the law enforcement hall. As for how he knew, that wasn't important. In any case, Lu Xingqian felt that Jiang Hao was acting strangely. Oh. It piqued Lu Xingqian's interest. He laughed. Give me the list. I'll investigate it over the next few days. Investigations took some time. The law enforcement hall wouldn't dare to arrest people rashly. After all, they were not pushovers. After leaving the law enforcement hall, Jiang Hao decided to make some talismans. The 1,000 miles teleportation talisman had already been used up, and he needed to make more. However, it was easy to strain his divine ability during the process. He also needed a new blade. After looking around for a while, he chose a pitch-black saber with peculiar patterns. It was suitable for a golden core realm cultivator and cost 3,600 spirit stones. This was the most ordinary type of magic treasure. The price was lower than that of a better foundation establishment magic treasure. For Jiang Hao, this one was more durable. Golden core magic treasure for less than 4,000 spirit stones was rare in the entire market. They were as scarce as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Forging magical treasures was also profitable. He spent 4,000 spirit stones to buy talisman-making materials to make the 1,000 miles teleportation talisman. Now he had 45,000 spirit stones. I need to ask how many spirit stones are needed for top-grade spirit herb seeds. Only by planting top-grade spirit herb seeds could he obtain bubbles. Other methods either didn't work or had a very low success rate. Soon he walked out of the Snow Lotus Pavilion. The prices ranged from 2,000 to 10,000 spirit stones. It was a bit expensive. 2,000. With 40,000 spirit stones he could buy 20 of them. Even if he only sold 15, it would still be good. He could sell the spirit herbs after a few months and do the same thing again. The only question was whether he could keep them safe. There was another problem. Top-grade seeds were rare. There are many problems, but for now, I need to deal with the one at hand. Jiang Hao returned to his house and began to make talismans. He quickly discovered that his cultivation was still insufficient. There is no need to rush. I'll wait another 2 days. After that, Jiang Hao began to refine his cultivation and waited for a few days to advance. The next day Jiang Hao went to his own spirit herb plot to take care of it. Half of the spirit herbs had started to wither. He found that their essence had been absorbed. Even if he revived them, it wouldn't matter. They had lost their medicinal properties. Perhaps it would take several decades for them to recover. But the amount of spirit stones he spent on fostering them had exceeded the value of the spirit herbs. He disposed of the spirit herbs without making a fuss. He had to be patient. Another day passed and Jiang Hao finally found a bubble in his courtyard. As he headed to the spirit herb garden, he saw a blue bubble amidst numerous white bubbles. Jiang Hao was delighted. He could finally advance to the next stage. Although it would be of no use against the late-stage return to Void Realm Cultivator, it would allow him to make 1,000 miles teleportation. Talisman which could come in handy. However, on this day half of his spirit herbs had withered. Jiang Hao saw an ordinary non-cultivator kneeling before the herbs. "Go do something else and be careful," he said. He felt anxious. Chapter 343. He probably couldn't even imagine that he would die in a few days. Far away, Guqing was tending to the spirit herbs. These past 2 days she had been observing Jiang Hao. Although most of her time was spent in the spirit herb garden, she still found time to tend to her own matters. Even in the garden, she only took care of her own spirit herbs and didn't interfere with others. Everything was running smoothly. He is kind to ordinary people, to the point where he remains silent even when he sees his spirit herbs withering. Is he trying to avoid making a big fuss, even when it's detrimental to him? It is no wonder he managed to survive in the demonic sect. He's afraid to make enemies. What a pity. Guqing was amused. Even if this person died, no one would pay much attention. The more ordinary a person, the fewer people cared about them. As for his background, she had already investigated it thoroughly. They were all fabricated. His relationship with Miao Tinglian wasn't very significant. It was the same with Mu Qi. It seems he's living quite a boring life without even a friend. I should just find a way to kill him. Once I do, I'll have temporary control of the spirit herb garden. Nobody will know. But if something went wrong in the garden now, this person would report it immediately. I won't have the time to recover fully, and it will only invite trouble. Jiang Hao quietly tended to the spirit herbs. Guqing was amused by him. He was really pitiful. Perhaps he thought he was being targeted by some fellow disciples. It made things easier for her. He probably couldn't even imagine that he would die in a few days. He is so pitiful. I'll make it quick when the time comes. She thought about the Heavenly Note sect. Although the Heavenly Note sect's strength wasn't impressive, it was still a significant threat to her. Even if this place couldn't accommodate her, it wouldn't be an issue. It wasn't like they could keep her here. Jiang Hao was quietly tending his spirit herbs. The situation was even more extreme than before. The other person didn't even hide it anymore. I need to find a place to hide. Which place was safe in the Heavenly Note sect? Jiang Hao decided to go to the Lawless Tower. After he advanced, he could go there more often. Even if he encountered the person from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion from before, he didn't mind. It was better than facing Guqing. The pavilion master of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion understood the strict rule of the Heavenly Note sect, while Guqing had no understanding of it at all. He was the one suffering in this situation. His progress wasn't slow, but he still had much work to do. He sent the spirit beast and Shaoli to the outer sect's spirit herb garden. For now they shouldn't be here. After taking care of his own spirit herbs, Jiang Hao began to observe other parts of the spirit herb garden. Many spirit herbs had their essence sucked away, but it wasn't very severe. It wouldn't have a significant impact in the short term. However, if this continued, all the spirit herbs in the garden would suffer. By then, he would have to bear the responsibility. He couldn't afford to compensate for the loss of spirit herbs. I wonder how Lu Xingqian's investigation is going. Jiang Hao decided to leave. As for Guqing, he wouldn't seek her out. Jiang Hao returned to his house and sat cross-legged in his room. He was ready to start the process to advance to the next stage. He didn't have time to find out more about the abundant spiritual energy in his courtyard. He didn't have time to visit Bai Yi either. Guqing had disrupted his life. Jiang Hao looked at his interface. Jiang Hao felt a massive influx of spiritual energy and vitality in his body. The improvement of cultivation required the cooperation of the body, with the lifeblood nourishing it. The Hong Ming Heart Sutra circulated, and purple energy appeared around him. The vast spiritual energy converged and nurtured his primordial spirit. The purple energy enveloped Jiang Hao like a cocoon. Because of the trip to Heavenly Steel Mountain, he had a more profound understanding of the Hong Ming Heart Sutra. His body and mind were filled with purple energy, which rose and fell with each breath. The night passed by, and Jiang Hao was completely enveloped in purple energy. When the sun shone the next day, the purple energy shattered with a crisp sound. Then his primordial spirit manifested and shone with a golden light. With a loud bang, the purple energy shattered even more and absorbed into Jiang Hao's body. At this moment, a faint golden light surrounded him. His peak of primordial spirit aura surged and then settled down. Jiang Hao slowly opened his eyes. The immense power gave him a bit more confidence. But when he thought of Gu Qing's cultivation realm, he sighed. The gap in strength was just too huge. He clenched his fist. With this mighty power, he felt confident enough to fight against Man Long. He had even surpassed Lu Xingchen by 2 stages. He was stronger and safer now. After refining his cultivation, Jiang Hao recorded the attacks in his wrist guard and stored his power in the reappearance of the hidden spirit between his brows. At noon, he started making the 1,000 miles teleportation talisman. He used medicinal pills, reappearance of the hidden spirit ability, and clear and pure heart ability. In the evening, he finally completed a 1,000 miles teleportation talisman. Fortunately, the clear and pure heart ability only suffered minor damage. It should be able to recover with the revival of Withered Tree. The benefits of having a powerful divine ability were indeed great. However, it was a pity that his cultivation was still too weak. Otherwise, why would he still need to rely on divine abilities? It was still low in quality. He put away the talisman. Jiang Hao then took a break. The next day he felt his divine ability recovering slightly. As long as it recovered, it was all well and good. It would probably be difficult to restore it to its former state. This time, when he returned to the spirit herb garden, he found that all of his remaining spirit herbs had withered. Several thousand spiritual stones were gone just like that. "Master, please have mercy on me. I don't know what happened." A young man knelt in front of Jiang Hao. He was trembling in fear. Jiang Hao looked at his withered spirit herbs and felt depressed. He had worked so hard in the corpse realm, only to have his hard-earned spirit herbs vanish in just a few days. He glared at the young man before him. He sighed. "Go do something else." The young man seemed to be in disbelief. He pressed his head to the ground. "Thank you for sparing my life." Jiang Hao knew this incident had nothing to do with the young man. He had glared at him just to convince Gu Qing that he knew nothing of the situation. There was simply no need to argue with ordinary non-cultivators. At this moment he felt Gu Qing looking at him. In these few days he would face immense danger. Whether he survived or not would entirely depend on Lu Xingchen. White Moon Lake. "Elder Baiji, we've received a message from the law enforcement hall." The woman in the black robe landed before Baiji. Baiji was sitting in the courtyard and gazing at the sky. The law enforcement hall operates independently. What message could they possibly send us? She asked curiously. "I don't know, but it seems like they want to use the sex treasure." Sex treasure? The law enforcement hall functioned independently and didn't really report to anyone. If they were planning to use the sex treasure this time, it meant that the situation was quite serious. Chapter 344. What is he like about me? Baiji accepted the message and read it. Her eyes narrowed. She then passed the message to the woman in the black robe. The black-robed woman was surprised. "Dealing with a spy." Baiji nodded. "What kind of spy would warrant the use of the Inner Heart platform?" "I'll find out more about this," said the black-robed woman and left. Baiji sat quietly in the courtyard. Her hair swayed gently in the breeze. After a while, the black-robed woman returned. "I found out the details." Baiji looked at her. "So, what's the situation?" "A member of the law enforcement hall suspects an inner sect disciple. They used the Heavenly Essence Soul modeling mirror to see what the person has been up to. However, they couldn't see anything in the reflection. It seems the suspect might have a treasure that blocks the effect of the mirror, or they might be in an immensely high cultivation realm. They tried to gather more information but didn't get much. The law enforcement hall concluded that the person might really be a spy from some other place. Since the person is likely to have a valuable treasure, they need to restrict their movements, so they want to use the Inner Heart platform. Baiji chuckled. It is no wonder they rushed to report it. They are worried this person might be too powerful and can't imagine what they must be capable of. They can't afford to bear the consequences if the person ends up doing something. It all boiled down to one fact: the opponent might be exceptionally strong. The black-robed woman nodded. What do you suggest, Elder Baiji? Who discovered this person? Baiji asked. The law enforcement hall's Lu Xingqian. Baiji nodded. Let them pick the time of action. You can follow them. The black-robed woman nodded. Baiji watched her leave. Finding traitors and spies hadn't been going well lately. She needed to catch a strong spy to find out more about why they were targeting the sect. It would be best if the person actually was a spy. If not, they could still question the suspect about the treasure. The person might really be powerful if they were able to block the effect of the mirror. Catching them could still yield some clues. Even if they were exceptionally powerful, there might still be room for negotiation. However, that was unlikely. Otherwise, the law enforcement hall wouldn't be this desperate. After dealing with the spirit herbs, Jiang Hao went to find the senior who had allowed him to plant his spirit herbs. He informed him of the ruined herbs. The senior looked puzzled but didn't ask anything further. Clearly, some rumors might have spread about the garden. Jiang Hao didn't mind. Right now, he needed to protect himself. He didn't know when Gu Qing would make her move. He had no idea about Lu Xingqian's progress in the investigation. The only solution was to find ways to avoid danger. As he left the spirit herb garden, he heard a voice call for him from behind. Senior brother Jiang, wait. Jiang Hao turned. His heart sank when he saw Gu Qing running toward him. He wanted to flee. If she attacked him here, he would definitely die. The gap in their strengths was too vast. He couldn't fight back even if he wanted to. He reined in his fear and squeezed out a smile. Junior sister Gu, is there something you need? Senior brother Jiang, you are leaving? Gu Qing asked. Yes. I'm going to the outer sect for a while, then I'll return to cultivate. I'll also get back to work, but I have something I need to ask you, senior brother Jiang. Will you be free tonight? I'll find you after I'm done here. I can't ask you here because it's a little personal. Gu Qing lowered her head and blushed. Jiang Hao smiled. Sure. I'll wait for you tonight then. Gu Qing happily jumped up and smiled. Then, senior brother, please wait for me tonight. Jiang Hao nodded and watched as Gu Qing returned to the spirit herb garden. Jiang Hao turned and left. His face darkened. He arrived at the outer sect area. Master, why are you here? Asked the spirit beast. At the same time, the beast gestured to Shaoli to be quiet. Senior brother Jiang, Shaoli looked nervous. Jiang Hao knew at a glance that they must have been up to something shady again. He glared at them and instructed the spirit beast to not leave Shaoli's side tonight. The spirit beast looked disappointed. It was probably thinking about the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. Now that Shaoli and the spirit beast were out of the way, he went to visit Ching Chou. He asked him about the progress and told him not to return to the spirit herb garden for a while. After that, he headed straight for the Lawless Tower. Tonight he intended to stay there. As soon as Jiang Hao arrived at the 5th floor, he heard the voice of the Heavenly King. You little bitch, how dare you shout at me? A mere early-stage primordial spirit realm cultivator. You are about to drop into the Golden Core realm. In a few days you'll be demoted to the 4th floor. Jiang Hao walked in. The ones who had been quarreling turned their attention to him. When Hai Luo saw Jiang Hao, he became quieter. Was I speaking too loudly just now? I admit I got a bit carried away. It's okay as long as it's quiet now, right? Jiang Hao was speechless. Mi Lingyue, on the other hand, was puzzled. Foundation establishment kid, what did you say to him? How did you make the headstrong Heavenly King submit like this? Why don't you tell me and I'll exchange a thing or two with you? I can give you techniques, spells, and some alchemy, forging, or talisman-making methods. I can tell you all about it. Jiang Hao was surprised. He didn't expect her to know about alchemy, forging, and talisman-making. Do you know about formations? He asked curiously. I only know a little bit about formations. Mi Lingyue shook her head. Just a little? Jiang Hao thought about it and decided not to embarrass himself. After that, he sat in front of Zhuang Yuzhen and asked him about some matters related to the corpse realm. He informed Zhuang Yuzhen that the Heavenly Note sect hadn't found the previous spy for a whole year now. Since the person hadn't shown up, there was a possibility that they might just give up. Zhuang Yuzhen felt relieved. Jiang Hao had expected him to become as arrogant as the Heavenly King, but he just continued to answer his questions. He gradually gained a clearer understanding of some doubts he had about the corpse realm, such as the rules and laws regarding its opening. There wasn't a fixed cycle. It depended on when the seeds reacted. When he had first arrived, the seeds had already responded. After he planted them, it opened the corpse realm. It had been 16 years since it opened last, and 8 years since the one before that. By the way, is the Mountain Sea Sword sect also a northern sect? Jiang Hao remembered the jade pendant he had obtained from Zhuge Zheng. In the evening, Gu Qing left the spirit herb garden and bid farewell to the others working there. She then headed to Jiang Hao's place. She didn't feel anything strange. She had walked this way many times before. He should be happy to see me. I wonder what he likes about me. Is he attracted to my appearance, my physique, or my storage treasure? She knew that Jiang Hao wasn't affected by her charms. She felt that the last option was the most likely. Even so, he probably doesn't know he is going to die tonight. Some of the spirit herbs in the spirit herb garden might be facing issues. I can't keep him around anymore. Chapter 345. Do you really need so many people to deal with someone in Foundation Establishment realm? The trouble with the spirit herbs was one thing. Jiang Hao had too many spirit herbs. Ordinary people would hide their wealth. If he dared to raise so many herbs, he should have a bigger place. This trip would yield a lot of results. In some time, my cultivation will recover somewhat. At that point, I'll find a way to the Candlelight Pill Pavilion. If I can manage the spirit herb garden again, I should be able to recover most of it. Gu Qing had learned a lot after spending time in the Cliff of Broken Hearts. The Candlelight Pill Pavilion was the next place with high-quality spirit herbs. If she demonstrated some talent in alchemy, she could go there. At this moment, she saw a small house by the river. I arrived. She hurried over. Just as she approached, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky. It was flying on a sword at an astonishing speed. Lu Xingxian landed in front of Gu Qing. Junior sister, do you have a moment? What's the matter, senior brother? Gu Qing smiled. He was in the middle stage of the primordial spirit realm. Maybe she could make use of him. I am Lu Xingxian of the Law Enforcement Hall. I need your cooperation for a few matters, he said. The Law Enforcement Hall? Gu Qing frowned. Why? Your identity is suspicious and we need to investigate, Lu Xingxian said. So, I have to go to the Law Enforcement Hall? Yes. Can't I refuse to go? Gu Qing asked. You can't. Lu Xingxian shook his head. Can't you let this slide, senior brother? There was an aura emanating from Gu Qing and it suppressed Lu Xingxian. It seems you are unwilling to cooperate. In the Heavenly Note sect, no one has dared to resist an investigation from the Law Enforcement Hall. Several powerful individuals appeared and joined forces to suppress her. You're treating your own people like this? Gu Qing's eyes narrowed. She had no idea what was happening. Why was she suddenly a target? The people attacked her. Gu Qing's face darkened. Can you really afford to anger me, Heavenly Note sect? The immense aura of a return to Void Realm cultivator spread out. The people from the Law Enforcement Hall were unfazed. Boom. A powerful force swept across the earth. Spells circulated and shone in all directions. Explosions rang out. Gu Qing only barely managed to escape the place with heavy injuries. Heavenly Note sect, I'll remember this. She used a treasure and intended to leave this place. However, just when she activated the treasure, it was suppressed by something. A tiny platform hung over her head. How is this possible? Why would this kind of treasure be used against her? For a moment, Gu Qing couldn't understand. She disguised herself as a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator. They used such measures to deal with a person of such a low realm. They had even used a precious treasure. Had they investigated her thoroughly before taking action, Gu Qing had no chance to escape. Lu Xingxian walked over to her. Junior sister, you don't need to go to the Law Enforcement Hall anymore. It is far too good a place for you. The Lawless Tower will take over the matter. The Enforcement Hall wouldn't be able to keep such a powerful enemy in check. Only by throwing them into the Lawless Tower could they possibly find out more. At White Moon Lake, the black-robed woman visited Baiji again. Is it over? Baiji stood by the lake as she looked at the moon in the sky. Yes, it's over. It was easier than expected. I thought I might need to intervene, but she was easily captured. The tiny platform played its part. She has been sent to the Lawless Tower. Interrogation hasn't started yet. Where did you capture her from? Baiji suddenly asked. Near Jiang Hao's residence. She seemed to be looking for junior brother Jiang. Where's Jiang Hao? Baiji asked. Well, the black-robed woman hesitated. He went to the Lawless Tower this afternoon and hasn't returned yet. It seems he intends to stay there overnight. Baiji was taken aback. The Lawless Tower had inexplicably become his refuge. Did you obtain the treasure? Baiji asked. No, while her storage treasure contains quite a few valuable items, it doesn't have the item we are looking for. It's possible that it's hidden within her body. Baiji looked at her. Take your time and get the information as soon as possible. The black-robed woman nodded. Once she left, Baiji left White Moon Lake and headed to the highest peak. The highest place in the Heavenly Note sect was the 100-Flower Lake. Is the Mountain Sea Sword sect that powerful? Jiang Hao was surprised. The Divine Corpse sect was rather ordinary compared to the Mountain Sea Sword sect. Any demonic sect in the northern region had to stay away from the Mountain Sea Sword sect, and they rarely ventured out. All members of the demonic sects kept their distance from them. It wasn't merely fear of their sect. The people from there were terrifying as well. Of course, there were some who thought they could ally and use them, but they were eventually wiped out. Of course, they're powerful. Among the major immortal sects in the northern region, they are on par with the Clear Sky School. The major sects are nothing before them, Zhuang Yuzhen said with a bitter smile. I wanted to visit the Mountain Sea Sword sect, but I couldn't even enter their gates. Jiang Hao sighed. Suddenly he thought of a possibility. If he couldn't even enter their gates, how would he exchange the jade pendant for spirit stones? Was Zhuge Zheng lying to me? Jiang Hao couldn't be sure. He couldn't really find out about it. But if he could enter, it meant he could join two major immortal sections. The Bright Moon sect and the Mountain Sea Sword sect. Unfortunately, he didn't dare to venture out. In the future, he might be able to sell the item during gatherings. The Bright Moon sect was out of the question, but maybe he could find someone from the Mountain Sea Sword sect to sell it to. After asking a few more questions, Jiang Hao realized it was getting late. It was time to leave. Hey, wait. When will you also tell me the words you used to strike fear in everybody? Mi Lingyue shouted. My cultivation is about to drop. I won't be here any longer. Jiang Hao was speechless. She was really strange. He ignored her and walked away. Last night, he had deliberately avoided Gu Qing. He didn't know what he could do today if he met her. Maybe I should first find Lu Xingqian. If Gu Qing was angry, she would attack him. It would be bad for him. Just as he arrived at the law enforcement peak, he saw Lu Xingqian walking over to him. Junior brother Jiang, are you here to take on a new mission? Jiang Hao was puzzled. Some people from the mission hall miss you, junior brother. They say you haven't appeared here for a year, and it's time for you to take a stroll outside, Lu Xingqian said with a smile. Jiang Hao was speechless. Although he had acquired considerable spirit stones, he didn't intend to give them to the law enforcement peak. He remembered that he could appraise Lu Xingqian today. However, he needed to keep an eye on Gu Qing to see what her intentions were. By the way, we captured junior sister Gu last night, said Lu Xingqian. Jiang Hao was stunned. He used the daily appraisal ability on Lu Xingqian. Did the remnant souls take their leave? Chapter 346, Planning to Escape. Jiang Hao was quite surprised when he saw the information given by the appraisal. The remnant souls seemed to be recuperating. Jiang Hao didn't think that the bored Lu Xingqian would wait for too long. If they continued to do nothing, they all might end up being devoured by him. Maybe that would force them to launch an attack. Or perhaps these three had sensed the danger and didn't dare to confront Lu Xingqian head-on. They might be biding their time to escape. That would surely interest Lu Xingqian. However, Jiang Hao was still unsure what the remnants planned to do. He could only wait until they recuperated and made a move. Jiang Hao felt troubled by the last line. He wondered what Lu Xingqian had planned for him. However, he had no choice. Gu Qing was too strong and he could only rely on Lu Xingqian. She was at the peak of Return to Void Realm. He couldn't even imagine how it must feel to be at the early stage of Return to Void Realm, let alone the late stage. Is junior sister Gu really a spy? Jiang Hao asked. I'm not sure about that, but her strength is formidable, Lu Xingqian said. In the beginning I wasn't sure about her strength either. I only sought the assistance of the seniors because she had some treasure with her. I'm glad I took some people with me. That's how we were able to capture her. Treasure? Yes, secret treasure, Lu Xingqian said. At first, I used the pseudo-heavenly essence soul modeling mirror and found nothing, so I requested the real one. Still nothing came up. That indicated that she was either extremely powerful or had treasures with her. After several investigations, the law enforcement hall concluded that she had treasures. We applied for a divine treasure to suppress the power of the treasure she had. Then we arrested her. Last night she was heading to your residence, junior brother Jiang. We found her on the way. We then captured her. I see. Jiang Hao nodded. He wondered if the heavenly essence soul modeling mirror came in real and pseudo variety. What if she had killed other disciples? Could the mirror come in handy to find out? Asked Jiang Hao. The process would be complicated, but as of now, if we use a higher-level heavenly essence soul modeling mirror, we should be able to find out. Of course, investigating the murder of fellow sect members would be much more complicated. But she can't escape. For now, we don't know what she did here. Lu Xingqian shook his head. We're currently investigating why she was in the sect. She was sent to the Lawless Tower. It probably won't go well for her there. The Lawless Tower? Jiang Hao thought of Hai Luo and the others. Maybe he would find her there too. Unfortunately, he couldn't make her suffer with just a few words. He hadn't found any leverage on her yet. There's one more thing I need to tell you, junior brother Jiang, Lu Xingqian said suddenly. Capturing her is an accomplishment. Don't you want credit for? Jiang Hao shook his head. I did nothing. I only had some doubts. You did all the work. You deserve the credit. That works too. Lu Xingqian smiled and nodded. Oh, by the way, if junior sister Gu caused any losses during her time at the Spirit Herb Garden, who would be responsible for it? Jiang Hao was quite concerned. After all, those spirit herbs were of considerable value. If he really had to compensate for other people's spirit herbs, he wouldn't be able to afford it. After thinking for a moment, Lu Xingqian said, I'll take 2 people to thoroughly investigate this afternoon. I will find out junior sister Gu's residence and the task she was in charge of. If there's any loss, I'll help you apply for compensation. Currently, junior sister Gu is still a disciple of the Heavenly Note sect, but that might not be the case for much longer. Jiang Hao understood that if she was still a disciple, he had to bear the responsibility. If not, he wouldn't be made to compensate. After talking for a while, Jiang Hao learned that the sect was preparing and was likely to take action against the Heavenly Saint sect. With the Heavenly Saint sect out of the way, he would be much safer. Besides the Heavenly Note sect, he was also being watched by the Sunset Immortal sect. The first wave of attacks by the Sunset Immortal sect shouldn't pose a danger. His strength was at Foundation Establishment realm, so no matter how cautious the other party was, they wouldn't use a cultivator surpassing the primordial spirit realm to deal with him. For those who had grudges against him, they assumed he was weak. So they wouldn't send strong opponents. It was a pity that he wasn't strong enough himself. Otherwise, no one would hold a grudge against him at all. However, he couldn't underestimate the situation, or he might become the next Gu Qing. She had disguised herself to appear at the early Foundation Establishment realm but was still captured. After bidding farewell to Lu Xingqian, Jiang Hao returned to the Spirit Herb Garden. In the afternoon, Lu Xingqian arrived to investigate. He found that there were problems with the spirit herbs. It was worth 39,000 spirit stones. In the end, the law enforcement hall took away half of the spirit herbs and compensated for 90% of the value. The remaining half was to be borne by the Cliff of Broken Hearts. Some spirit herbs could be restored in time. So, in the end, they had to bear 10% of the loss. That was 390 spirit stones. Jiang Hao wasn't too concerned about that. It was a pity no one had compensated him for the spirit herbs he lost. So he could only accept this loss on his own. But Jiang Hao was okay with it. The capture of Gu Qing was the most important thing to him. At least he was safe now. 7 days later, Lu Xingqian informed him that Gu Qing had been confirmed to be a spy and was locked up at the Lawless Tower indefinitely. Jiang Hao felt relieved. He could now continue with his own matters. He returned to his house and glanced at his interface. Since his advancement to a new stage, he hadn't really looked at it closely. 27 years old? It's been almost 8 years since I met Hong Yuya. I was 19 then. In just a few short years he had progressed from the 8th stage of the lifeblood refinement realm to the peak of the primordial spirit realm. He had surpassed foundation establishment realm, then golden core realm, and now was on the verge of surpassing the primordial spirit realm. The speed was unbelievable. Jiang Hao felt delighted. Even the disciples of the Clear Sky School couldn't manage to advance so fast. When they first met, he was at the early stage of the foundation establishment realm, and Lu Xingchen was at the peak of the golden core realm. Over 7 years had passed since then, and he had reached the peak of the primordial spirit realm, while Lu Xingchen was in the middle stage of the primordial spirit realm. If anyone found out about his progress, they would be shocked. People would definitely want to find out how it was possible. And his fellow disciple, Han Ming, who started in the same realm as him, was still only at the late stage of the foundation establishment realm. The more I think about it, the more I feel that my state of mind isn't very stable. Jiang Hao sighed. Once he started to feel pride, it would be the beginning of his destruction. He had to be constantly vigilant. He couldn't go down the wrong path. After calming himself, Jiang Hao began to plan for the future. Speaking of which, it's time to visit the 100 Bones Forest again. It had been a year since the last time he had used the sealing technique. Now that he had finally managed to suppress Bai Ye's cultivation by a level, he couldn't let him catch up to him. 2 weeks later, Jiang Hao arrived at the 100 Bones Forest at night. However, when he sensed Bai Yi outside the valley, he felt that something was amiss. What's going on? Middle stage of the primordial spirit realm. Chapter 347. Junior brother Han's cultivation will soar to a whole new level. Jiang Hao opened his eyes. He might not have sensed it wrong just now. Normally he wouldn't be able to locate Bai Yi. He had used the knowledge from the Nameless Manual, which allowed him to sense the other person's realm through the fluctuations of spiritual energy. This was the only way for him to clearly ascertain other people's cultivation. Was his cultivation affected by the challenge with the Manlong last time? Or is it due to a curse? He had abandoned the curse a long time ago. It was too risky to offend Hong Yuya after she had warned him. After a year of recuperation, his cultivation should have stabilized completely. In fact, he should have even attempted to advance his cultivation further. Why did it fall instead? Jiang Hao was surprised, but he couldn't stop with the sealing process. Bai Yi was cunning. He could deceive Jiang Hao and make life hard for him again. He gripped the long spear. This time he only utilized his own strength without activating his divine ability. Swish! The spear enveloped in purple energy whistled through the air. In the valley, Bai Yi was sitting on a chair. I heard we suffered some losses with the spirit herbs. Yes, there was a major incident at the Cliff of Broken Hearts, and many of the spirit herbs were affected. The losses have been compensated and we're not lacking in spirit stones, said Lian Qin. I always feel that the Cliff of Broken Hearts gets into a lot of trouble. It's not that cliff that has issues, it's that everyone targets that branch. There are many things happening beyond our view as well. We're just not paying attention to them. Bai Yi smiled. Have you found the suitable spirit herbs? I need a few more days. Almost done. Sooner would be better. It'll become ineffective soon, Bai Yi said. He had thought of many ways to save himself. In the end, he could only use the methods from the past. This was the best option. He was about to say something more when he suddenly looked toward the outside of the valley. After over a year, that purple light appeared again. Boom. The long spear shot through the sky, broke the formation and headed straight for Bai Yi. The defensive shield activated just in time. Unfortunately, under the assault of the spear, the shield shattered instantly. The spear pierced through Bai Yi like lightning. Bai Yi screamed and blood splattered. The purple energy once again surged into Bai Ye's body and injured him. Lian Qin was dumbfounded. It was so fast that she couldn't react in time. As she snapped back to her senses, she quickly arrived at Bai Ye's side. She felt that her senior brother might die. At that moment, she experienced an unprecedented fear. Isn't everything fine now? Why is he back again? What does he want us to do? Whatever he wants, we'll do it. We'll do it all. Bai Yi coughed blood. He smiled weakly. It's okay, I'm fine. He has weakened his attack. He only wants to seal my cultivation. I still have hope. There's still hope. He coughed up more blood. Despite that, he was still hopeful. Lian Qin didn't understand. But they couldn't just give up. Every time the person appeared, it was a huge blow. both psychologically and physically. Jiang Hao had already left the Hundred Bones forest. Although he was puzzled by Bai Ye's condition, he didn't think much about it. He needed to observe the situation first. After all, Bai Yi wasn't an ordinary true disciple. He had significant achievements to his name. It was necessary to consider the implications of crossing him. Jiang Hao stood on the balcony of his house. He felt that the people he had encountered recently were all very strong, especially those related to the gathering. Zhuang Yuzhen, Gu Qing and others. They were all connected somehow. Was it all just a coincidence? Jiang Hao hesitated and took out the stone tablet. He suddenly remembered something. He used the daily appraisal on the stone tablet. Dermic treasure. Maybe all of them have something to do with this? Many he had encountered used the stone tablet. Maybe they were all connected because of this. How much is this thing influencing everything? Or is it just my rotten luck to be dragged into this? After all, meeting someone as powerful as Gu Qing wasn't considered the best of luck. Jiang Hao took out the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl. It's possible that this is the cause of everything bad happening to me. He possessed quite a few things of this kind. Hong Ming Heart Sutra, Primordial Heaven Sky Blade, 9 Rings of Heaven and Earth, Secret Message Tablet, Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, Earth Extreme Heart Devouring Pearl, Heavenly Fragrance Dao Flower, and the Immortal Peach Tree. Jiang Hao nearly scared himself thinking about all that. So many terrifyingly powerful things with him. It was astonishing that someone hadn't killed him yet. He felt that he needed to be even more cautious in the future. At the White Moon Lake, the black-robed woman appeared again. We can confirm that the treasure is on Gu Qing, but we can't extract it yet, she said in embarrassment. Unless she willingly removes it, forcibly taking it out would cause damage to the treasure. Besides the treasure, is there anything else? Baiji asked. She belongs to the fallen immortal clan, and she claims to have come to the Heavenly Note sect just to recuperate. But she isn't trustworthy. She's probably hiding from her enemies. However, we don't know who her enemies are, the black-robed woman said. Baiji thought for a moment and asked, did she admit she's from the fallen immortal clan? This clan was seldom heard of and quite difficult to identify. Ordinarily, members of this clan wouldn't openly admit to being from there. No, it was confirmed by Zhuang Yuzhen and the others. Actually, the black-robed woman hesitated for a moment. Actually, Jiang Hao has some methods to deal with Zhuang Yuzhen and the other captives. Perhaps he can intervene. There's a possibility of getting better results. Baiji glanced at the black-robed woman. The woman was startled. She kneeled on the ground. I apologize for my incompetence. Baiji didn't say much. Zhuang Yuzhen and the others weren't weak. It wasn't uncommon for someone as strong as them to refuse to cooperate. As time passed, they all mellowed out. They cooperated one way or another, except the Heavenly King. For some reason he got agitated. He was quite stubborn. For now, let it be. The people from the Divine Corpse sect are about to leave. Prepare each branch to be ready for their departure. Yes. Early in the morning, Jiang Hao received a list. They needed a large number of spirit herbs on a continuous basis. It seems I need to take action. During this period, he couldn't allow any accidents to happen at the spirit herb garden. He also needed to find time to make spirit talismans which could be sold at high prices. He could also sell some spirit herbs in the process. The next day, Gu Qing and Qing Yu from the Divine Corpse sect came to say goodbye to him. These two had helped Jiang Hao quite a bit. He respectfully bid farewell to them. More than 30 people from the Divine Corpse sect had arrived in the Heavenly Corpse sect. 10 had died. One more had died in the corpse realm. That person was Yun Qi. Jiang Hao understood that this allowed Gue to free herself. That was good news. It meant that Gue wouldn't remain in the Heavenly Note sect. He could finally breathe a sigh of relief. On the third day after sending them off, a large group of disciples gathered. The teleportation array had opened. The disciples were going to teleport to a temporary base near the Heavenly Saint sect and annihilate them in one fell swoop. Jiang Hao looked at the young man about to depart and smiled at him. Junior brother Han, after this, I'm sure your cultivation will soar. It'll be beyond anyone's reach. Han Ming was at a loss for words. Chapter 348, Going Down the Mountain. Looking at Han Ming's unwavering determination, Jiang Hao knew that he could go far in the future. However, there was a problem. It was easy for him to fall into other people's traps. This time too, many people were heading to ambush the Heavenly Saint sect, and Han Ming was among them. Jiang Hao couldn't go because he was still on the suspect list of law enforcement hall. Otherwise he might have been sent there. That would be dangerous. He returned to the Spirit Herb Garden. Until the battle ended, there shouldn't be any issues there. Otherwise it would be considered his negligence and the consequences would be severe. He also took the Spirit Beast to the Spirit Herb Garden. If there were any issues it could detect them immediately. He called Tor Qingqiu too. The outer sect's Spirit Herb Garden was temporarily left unattended. When Qingqiu came back to his old Spirit Herb Garden, he realized that junior sister Gu had been captured. He felt that senior brother Zhang's decision to have him stay in the outer sect had a purpose. 3 days later, people gradually appeared in the sect. Most of them were heavily injured. They were from the Heavenly Saint sect and were thrown into the Lawless Tower. Jiang Hao didn't sell talismans during this time. The Spirit Herb Garden was more important. He only took time long enough to water the heavenly fragrance Dao flower and hurried back to the Spirit Herb Garden every time. He didn't dare to leave the garden unattended. He worked there day and night. He divided the work of tending to spirit into 2 shifts. Everyone was constantly working around the clock. One day someone requested to see him outside. Jiang Hao walked out of the garden to see a woman with significant injuries. She was at the peak of the Foundation establishment realm. "Senior sister, is there something you need?" Jiang Hao asked. The woman handed a list to Jiang Hao and walked straight into the Spirit Herb Garden. "I need a stalk of the ancient clear grass." As she was about to enter the herbs, Jiang Hao stopped her. "What is it, junior brother? Is there a problem with the list?" she asked. "No problem." Jiang Hao looked at her. "But I think you are the problem." Just as he finished speaking, she was about to attack. She suddenly unleashed her entire cultivation and charged into the Spirit Herb Garden. Jiang Hao didn't hesitate. He used the demonic sound slash. Boom. The opponent tried to cast a spell to block, but by that time, Jiang Hao was already at her side. He used the moon-slaying technique. The blade's light shone like the moon. With a loud bang, the opponent was sent flying backward. Jiang Hao sent some workers to call someone from the law enforcement hall. The woman was taken away quickly. "How did you figure it out?" asked the woman before she was taken away. She couldn't understand how he had figured out that she was from the Heavenly Saint sect. Jiang Hao didn't answer her. Actually, he hadn't been sure. Her injuries were real, and the list she had handed him with an order for spirit herbs was legitimate. Her cultivation realm, her aura, everything was fine. She wasn't suspicious at all. He only had a gut feeling and used the daily appraisal. That's when he found out. Fortunately, she had only been at the peak of the Foundation establishment realm. If she had been at the Golden Core realm, it would have been troublesome. Jiang Hao heard about similar incidents in 2 other places. It was said that they were from the same sect. Jiang Hao could understand how the others might have allowed them to enter the garden. If it were senior sister Miao trying to enter the garden, he wouldn't have stopped her either. However, most of the people were post-war puppets. There were only 2 spies from the Heavenly Saint sect in the place after all. Half a month later, around mid-March, the supply and demand of spirit herbs in the sect decreased by half. People were freely thrown into the Lawless Tower. In early April, the sect ceased the numerous orders for spirit herbs. Jiang Hao let out a sigh of relief. He then told Qingqiu to inform the workers in the garden about it. A few could stay while the rest could take a break from work. The workers were delighted. It's over. Not only the work but also the battle with the other sect. They won. So, they didn't have to worry anymore. If they lost and the enemies infiltrated the sect, workers like them would be the first to be killed. "Master." The spirit beast ran over to him. "You mentioned giving me a gift last time. Is it ready yet?" Jiang Hao glanced at it. "Not yet." "What about me?" Shaoli stood beside the spirit beast. "No hurry." The spirit beast and Shaoli retreated to the side and began to speculate what their gifts were. "Spirit beast, what do you think my gift will be?" "If you call me big brother, I'll tell you what your gift is." "I like desserts." "As for me, I like things that showcase my identity as a great demon." Jiang Hao sighed as he listened to their discussion. Did he ever say he was going to give gifts to both of them? Jiang Hao left the Spirit Herb Garden. He rarely went elsewhere because the enemies were from the Heavenly Saint sect. They easily blended in as ordinary workers. So, There might be many of their people around that were in hiding. He had been on his guard ever since the war started. Now he could finally relax. He went to the cafeteria. Jiang Hao sighed and looked for Feng Yang. Desserts? Feng Yang was puzzled. Yes, just simple ones. Nothing too extravagant. That will take some time to learn. Do you have time to spare, senior brother Jiang? I do. In the evening, Jiang Hao left with 2 boxes of pastries. He found the spirit beast and Shaoli under the jujube tree near Shaoli's house. 1 box for each of you. A gift. He handed over the pastries. Shaoli and the spirit beast jumped up in joy. Then they took the boxes and opened them. After that, Jiang Hao ignored them and went back to making talismans. He needed to earn some spirit stones while talismans could still be sold for an increased price. Otherwise he might end up with nothing. Currently he only had 44,000 spirit stones left. Back in his house, Jiang Hao began making talismans. He wanted to make healing talismans, 10,000 swords talismans, earth-shattering talismans, and strength control talismans. The first 2 were the most common. His strokes flowed like water as he wrote the characters. It's been a year since I last made these. It seems I haven't lost my touch. He worked until midnight. The spirit beast finally came home. Jiang Hao had run out of materials and he would need to buy some more tomorrow. As he walked out of the house, the spirit beast said, "Master, I just went to find Lin Ji. It seems he is planning to leave." Leave? Jiang Hao was surprised. He's going back down the mountain for a visit. His 2 friends seem to be going back too, the spirit beast said. Visiting family? Jiang Hao thought for a moment and felt that it made sense. Those 2 friends had exceptional talent, and currently, they should be at the 6th stage of lifeblood refinement. Advancing to the 7th stage was difficult. Going back for a visit might help him ease some burdens. But no matter what, this trip back home would be a blow to Lin Ji. Once he returned, he would realize that he no longer had a place here. His belief in becoming a disciple might waver. How long will he be gone? Jiang Hao asked. About a month. The spirit beast jumped onto a tree branch. You can secretly follow him. Familiarize yourself with the matters down the mountain, Jiang Hao said. There was one thing he didn't say. In the future he might choose to leave of his own volition. The spirit beast excitedly hopped down from the tree branch and patted its chest. Leave it to me, master. My friends all know that I'm a great demon. They'll help me every step of the way. Jiang Hao chuckled. The next thing to consider would be the spoils of war from the Heavenly Saint sect. With the Heavenly Saint sect defeated, the Heavenly Note sect would obtain some treasures, and perhaps a new grand competition would be announced. He needed to pay attention and see if there were things he needed. Chapter 349, Leaving the Sect? No can do. The next day, Jiang Hao received news that many disciples wanted to leave the sect, including Lin Ji. Most of them were planning to return home for a while. Such things happened every few years. Since he had brought Lin Ji to the sect, the person in charge of the outer sect informed him of this development. After passing the message to the spirit beast, Jiang Hao stopped thinking about it further. Originally, Shaoli might have gone back as well, but she no longer had any family. Jiang Hao sighed as he looked at the list once more. He found Qingqiu. Take Shaoli back in a couple of days. Understood. Qingqiu nodded. 2 days later, Jiang Hao took care of everything. Coincidentally, he could also guide Chu Chuan during this time. Given his progress, achieving Foundation Establishment Realm within 3 to 4 years would be challenging. However, with the delay of the Bright Moon Sect's Tao Conference, there might still be enough time. Senior brother, when can I go to the Bright Moon Sect? After suffering several defeats, Chu Chuan asked. In a few more years, Jiang Hao said. But you might not make it in time. If you can't achieve the Foundation Establishment Realm, would you still want to? Of course, why wouldn't I? If I don't go, Chu Jie will worry about me, Chu Chuan said earnestly. When you see that Chu Jie has reached heights that you can't reach, how would you feel? Jiang Hao asked. I wouldn't mind, I'd just catch up. I not only want to surpass Chu Jie but also senior sister Shaoli, even the Lord Beast. I hope you can maintain this confidence even after you meet Chu Jie, Jiang Hao said softly. Heavenly Tao Foundation Establishment Realm was not something you could catch up to easily. Even catching up with Shaoli would be difficult. On the other hand, the Spirit Beast was the easiest to surpass. Back in the courtyard, Jiang Hao noticed that the spiritual energy had diminished significantly. It was almost back to its original state. What's going on now? He found no changes after careful examination. He then started making talismans. He had earned quite a bit of spirit stones in the past few days. The only regret was that the cost of materials had gone up. But if he wanted to earn spirit stones by making talismans, he had to accept the higher prices. After all, he was planning to sell talismans during the period of increased demand. In the past few days, he had felt his clear and pure heart almost completely restored. It would be at its peak in another month or two. In the following days, Jiang Hao sold talismans. He now had around 45,000 spirit stones. He also heard that the grand competition was confirmed. The rules were the same as the last time, with rich rewards for first place in each realm. Moreover, if no one achieved first place, the few disciples in the top ranking would get an equal share of the rewards. Jiang Hao knew that the competition would be fiercer than ever before. After all, the reward would be quite substantial. He also wanted to participate. But when Lu Xingqian told him another piece of news, he just gave up. It said that our sect has received an invitation from the Bright Moon sect for the Tao conference. The winners of the competition will get to attend the conference. Jiang Hao decided not to participate in the grand competition. Do you want to go, junior brother Jiang? Lu Xingqian asked. No. Jiang Hao shook his head. With your ability to achieve feats, I believe that if you go to the Bright Moon sect, you might achieve some notable accomplishments. If that happens, there probably won't be many in the sect who would dare to trouble you. You could even become a true disciple, Lu Xingqian said. Jiang Hao felt helpless. It wasn't safe for him to venture out of the sect. He felt that the way things were now was pretty good. Although he had encountered some troubles along the way, he had smoothly progressed to the peak of the primordial spirit realm. When will the competition start? He asked. Next month, I think. Jiang Hao nodded. By that time he could find out what the rewards were. This time he might be able to get something without making it to the first rank. If there was something he needed, he could strive for second or third place. If it wasn't necessary, he could just choose to lose. Or he could just not participate. Back at the Spirit Herb Garden, Miao Tinglian was complaining to him. I heard that the mines are getting busy and Mu Qi has to go again. He just came back from the corpse realm. They might send more people to the mines to help out. Jiang Hao was delighted to hear that. He wondered if he should volunteer to help out. At the 100-Flower Lake, a gentle breeze blew. The rain drizzled lightly. Hong Yuya sat in the pavilion. She looked at the teacup on the table, seemingly lost in thought. She coughed lightly. Soon after, a white figure appeared at the side of the pavilion. Sect Master. Baiji bowed to her. Hong Yuya turned to glance at Baiji. Why are you so badly injured? At a glance, Baiji seemed normal. No injuries in sight. However, her lifeblood and spiritual energy were nearly depleted. The Heavenly Saint sect collaborated with some outsiders. Although they were caught off guard, their combined strength was still formidable. We managed to severely wound them and imprison them in the Lawless Tower. However, some of them escaped. The Heavenly Note sect had not only declared war on the Heavenly Saint sect but also provoked the outsiders. The situation had become dangerous. After all, other sects were also keeping an eye on the Heavenly Note sect. Once they allied, it would be a crisis for the Heavenly Note sect. But all these matters were hers to handle. She was the acting sect master. She didn't need to report it to the sect master. What do the overseas people want with the Heavenly Fate Misfortune bead? Hong Yuya asked. According to the Heavenly King, it's for great luck, Baiji said. Great luck. Hong Yuya looked at Baiji. Does something like that even exist? Baiji said hurriedly, I will continue to interrogate him. What about that person from the fallen immortal clan? Hong Yuya asked. The treasure is still inside her body. Unless she agrees voluntarily, special secret techniques will be needed to extract the treasure. We're investigating what we can do, Baiji said. There hadn't been much progress and she was quite concerned. Hong Yuya didn't say much but asked about the gains from the recent battle. We obtained quite a few magic treasures, pills, spirit herbs, as well as some techniques, formations and records of talismans. Baiji took out many things out of her pocket. I've arranged for part of them to be sent to the Hall of Merits, and the rest will be used as rewards for the competition, just like before. Hong Yuya looked at the things. She picked up a few books. After that, she put them back. Seeing that the sect master hadn't spoken, Baiji said, Our people have started going overseas to contact the members of the End of All Things. Will take some time before we get any information. Jiang Hao successfully advanced to the peak of the Foundation Establishment realm after entering the Corpse realm. His advancement each time is too coincidental, and I suspect that someone is secretly guiding his cultivation when he goes out, and also providing him with various pills or other assistance to help him advance. Only then would he encounter opportunities every time. But there's no evidence. Lately he has been normal. There is no sign of anyone contacting him. Although suspicious, his intentions don't seem to be that of a spy. The heavenly fragrance Dao flower is well. It has grown 6 leaves so far. At this, Hong Yuye took out a transparent box containing a pair of boots. She then threw them to Baiji. Baiji understood. Rewards were naturally given for achievements. Continue investigating, Hong Yuye said calmly. She gave more instructions on various matters. After that, Baiji left the lake with the box. She still couldn't understand why the sect master wanted to keep Jiang Hao around and why he was getting so much attention from her. However, she had to admit that Jiang Hao did wonderfully at extracting information from the captives in the Lawless Tower. Perhaps I can let him intervene. She didn't want to get too deeply into matters concerning the sect because he was still suspicious, but he was indeed extraordinary. Both Zhuang Yuzhen and Hai Luo obeyed him. Whether it was luck or strength remained to be seen. The next day, Jiang Hao was still feeling regretful for not volunteering yesterday. Today he planned to inquire about the rewards for the competition. As soon as he stepped out, he received a communication talisman. Go to the Lawless Tower to see Gu Qin. Chapter 350. Interrogating Gu Qin. Jiang Hao hesitated after receiving the communication talisman. He had no way to deal with Gu Qin. The only thing that made her fearful was probably the Bright Moon sect. He wondered which sect among the Bright Moon sect or the Heavenly Sound sect would be safer. Using a sect to threaten prisoners from a demonic sect was willingly inviting trouble. Going to the Bright Moon sect might be dangerous, but it couldn't possibly be scarier than the Lawless Tower. The demonic sect didn't flinch when it came to murder. If the Bright Moon sect won't work, what else could I threaten her with? He couldn't think of anything. Jiang Hao decided to first go to the Spirit Herb Garden to handle the spirit herbs, and then to the marketplace to sell some spirit herbs and talismans. Then he might head to the Lawless Tower in the evening. After all, Elder Baiji hadn't given him a deadline. Jiang Hao felt strange that the spirit herbs in the courtyard had leaked out almost completely. To this day he still couldn't figure out why. At the Spirit Herb Garden, Jiang Hao saw someone delivering spirit herbs again. The one arranging the spirit herbs was Lan Qian. Senior Ning Xian was also present. Had the 100 Bones Forest started making trouble again? Junior brother Jiang, we leave the follow-up to you. If the Spirit Herb Garden has any issues you can inform me, said Ning Xian. Understood. Jiang Hao nodded. After that, Ning Xian mentioned the Outer Sect's Spirit Herb Garden and told Jiang Hao to take care. She told him he could always find her if he had any issues. Jiang Hao nodded and thanked her. Ning Xian then left. Jiang Hao couldn't help but sigh helplessly. Without Ching Chou, there was no one to take care of the Outer Sect's Spirit Herb Garden. It seemed like he had to go out for a stroll today. But the present fairy Ning Xian was already in the middle stage of the primordial spirit realm. She was very powerful in all aspects. She must have gained considerable opportunities at the corpse realm. Junior brother Jiang, said Lan Qian. As usual, if there's anything that needs to be changed, you can inform me. We'll handle it as quickly as possible. Okay. Then I'll trouble you, senior sister Lan, said Jiang Hao politely. No worries. It's us always troubling you, said Lan Qian. After that, Jiang Hao looked at Bai Ye's spirit herbs. They weren't particularly significant. They were just ordinary. What technique did he use this time? He might not find what Bai Yi must have used even after using appraisal on them. He would try it anyway in a few days. Jiang Hao was still suspicious. Why was Bai Yi still focusing on this? He would go back in a month or two. After collecting the bubbles, he began to tend to the spirit herbs. At noon he went to the Outer Sect's Spirit Herb Garden. The progress of the Cliff of Broken Hearts Spirit Field was still the same as before. No one had come from White Moon Lake, so they ranked in 9th place. Jiang Hao then went to the marketplace. He took along some relatively common spirit herbs and talismans to sell. He also inquired about the rewards for the upcoming competition. There were techniques, spirit swords, protective treasures and powerful storage magic treasures. In addition to these, there were also heavenly rejuvenation pills and special materials. Jiang Hao realized that the quality of the rewards wasn't as high as the last time. However, it was more abundant. There was nothing he wanted. The techniques were good, but there was no need to strive for the top place for those. He breathed a sigh of relief. This way, he didn't need to worry about missing out on anything good or having to go to the Bright Moon sect. However, the competition was more intense than ever. This time, the rewards consisted of 3 tiers. On-site treasures, subsequent resources, and an opportunity to participate in the Bright Moon sect's Tao conference put massive stress on everyone. People might be willing to go all out. Jiang Hao sold some talismans and spirit herbs. He received 500 spirit stones for the spirit herbs. Selling spirit herbs was indeed more profitable than anything else. Unfortunately, it took several years or even decades to cultivate them well. If they weren't allowed to mature properly, it was useless. They wouldn't sell well. In the evening, Jiang Hao headed to the Lawless Tower. The woman in the black robe explained his task briefly. Do you want me to interrogate her? Or should I have her voluntarily hand over the treasure? Jiang Hao was puzzled. It was normal for Zhuang Yuzhen to ask for Jiang Hao because of the heavenly fragrance Tao flower. It was also natural for Hai Luo to seek him out because he had connections with the end of all things, and Jiang Hao had leverage against him. However, Mi Lingyue didn't ask for him because he had nothing on her, and she needed nothing from him. Gu Qing would be the same. He wouldn't be looking for Jiang Hao. There was no connection between them. Junior brother Jiang, do you feel that you have an innate talent for interrogation? Asked the woman in the black robe. Jiang Hao was at a loss. Was that it? He realized that he had done well when it came to Zhuang Yuzhen and Hai Luo. He had performed too well for his own good. That was the reason why Elder Baiji wanted him to try again. But when it came to Gu Qing, he really had no leverage. At the Lawless Tower, Jiang Hao walked to the cage on the 5th floor. Today, even Hai Luo was unusually quiet. Mi Lingyue, who had said she might be demoted to the 4th floor, was still here. Her cultivation realm was unstable. If it weren't for her strong resistance, she would have dropped further. But even if she resisted, she would eventually give in. Among these powerful individuals, only Zhuang Yuzhen was able to withstand the absorption of the Lawless Tower and remain at the early stage of the primordial spirit realm. Although part of the reason was that the interrogator didn't push him too much, his strength was still formidable. As for Heavenly King Hai Luo, he was able to remain in the middle stage of the primordial spirit realm entirely. Jiang Hao looked at the 3 individuals before finally heading to the cage with the injured woman. She lowered her head. Her hair was disheveled, and she was lacking her previous pompous attitude. It was taking her immense effort to fight against the Lawless Tower. Her cultivation was the same as Hai Luo's. It seemed that her fall in strength wasn't too rapid. It might be because of the treasure she had. Bang. Mi Lingyue knocked on the cage wall. Heavenly King, your master is here. My master. Hai Luo looked at Mi Lingyue coldly. I've ruled over the Milky Way Sea realm for hundreds of years. Who dares to call themselves my master? Why would I need to bow to anyone? There isn't anyone in this world who can make me lower my voice. Jiang Hao walked up to him. Hai Luo sneered when he saw him. He hated Jiang Hao. He sat back down. I admit that I was just a tad bit too loud just now. Ha ha. Mi Lingyue laughed. This is hilarious. Jiang Hao didn't say anything. Now, he was more worried that Hai Luo's lover might have been sent to another place without anyone knowing. It was better to avoid conflicts. Hai Luo wouldn't fear anything, and that would complicate matters. As for Mi Lingyue, there was no need to pay any attention to her. Zhuang Yuzhen wasn't as stubborn as before. Jiang Hao arrived in front of Gu Qing's cage. She looked surprised to see him. Why would a mere foundation establishment, realm cultivator, be sent here? Moreover, it was the Foundation Establishment Realm Cultivator she had planned to kill before. That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.